Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Creator Series. We're here on a Monday night to reinsue the rally hype that we've had over the past couple of months. We're, of course, talking about the launch of Season 3, and we're better to find ourselves than at the home of the Rally of the Thousand Lakes. My name's TK. We'll be taking you through the next couple of hours of rally action, and alongside me is the man that knows a little bit too much about rally. It's John Isaac-Musin-Harris. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I was about to say the man that knows a little bit too much about crashing, but about rally as well works. Yeah, for sure. It's one of those rallies that everybody wants to win. Rally Finland. It's such a fast rally. So many things can go wrong, but so many things can go right. And looking at drivers' pace in practice and in the testing that we've had just before the broadcast, there are some drivers that are on it, to put it that way.
There certainly are. Some have been taking their testing to the extreme. Some are more the arrive and drive style of rally drivers that we're about to see head out. And of course, Finland being one of the fastest rallies in the calendar and quite often dubbed as the Grand Prix of rallying. Some of them might feel more at home.
Yeah, indeed, the Grand Prix on gravel, also another name that's used. It's in the past wasn't rivaled by any other gravel rally, really. Recently, we've had rallies like Poland, Latvia, Estonia, even that have got close to the speeds, but obviously with the vast, wide, open roads of Finland with all of the jumps, it's quite unique, that's for sure.
It certainly is. There's lots to look for and enjoy over the course of not only this rally, but the season as well as we get up, hopefully, what our calendar will be. I'm not sure if it's a thing. We'll pull up to the standings first from last season, Season 2, of course, and it was our champion, Vlembar, that topped the standings, just 1 point off that illustrious 200. My co-host for this afternoon, Isa, coming in second place, seems to find happy kind of home spot with over the last couple of seasons. Kamikaze, of course, rounding out the top three. Lots of interesting names in there. Pericles, of course, down in P10, securing that spot after an opening round rally where we never had that feature of DNF to the next day.
Yes, indeed. That changed quite a bit for the standings, but also for the layout of the season, really. A few drivers that had got somewhat unlucky in certain events were able to come back and score some decent points. And it definitely pushed drivers and encouraged drivers to try a bit harder. And we saw that towards the latter parts of the season where the gaps closed down. Everybody was a bit more confident. And you can see that on the leaderboard with the just closeness of the gaps with the results.
Of course. And of course, it really started to partake as everyone at home. We've accrued over 3,000 members in the RaceNet club there. And you can see drivers already setting their times for the opening stage of Championship number 3. It's Wilkström that tops the leaderboard at the moment. I have a feeling some very fast drivers will be coming in the coming hours, at least the closing hours of this first stage, potentially dismantling their throne as things stand. But the Toyota GR Yaris being a very favoured car by our drivers.
Yes, indeed. It seems to have a little bit more power or oomph, as we call it in rally, towards the top end of the speed. Especially, you can get that extra 2 or 3 kilometers per hour. So, in a flat-out rally like this, it's a very oversteery car. It's a quite natural car to drive, and so the leaderboards reflect that. And I think we have our first driver into the stage. Oh, shakedown! I'm being told. False alarm.
do not worry, do not panic quite yet. Ponju heading off for their initial shakedown, and this allows our drivers, if you are of course new to rally, allows our drivers just to get a feel for what's about to come their way over the next few kilometers of racing, get their car tuned in, but also gives them an extra set of tires to go forward with into that. And that is absolutely crucial when it comes to getting the fastest times on the leaderboard.
Indeed, with 12 stages, they really have to... Oh! I cannot believe we've just witnessed that. A perfect pirouette in the air from Punju. This rally is already golden on this one. Look at the reaction already on camera. He will be able to repair any damage, but most definitely he'll take high confidence in that one if he can get away with that. That is just exemplary of how little it takes to have an accident at Finland. All it takes is one slip up, one hesitation in the line, or one momentary loss of grip, and stuff like that can happen, and he got away with it. Oh, so just.
He really, really did. Aerotech is racing this evening, just to keep you updated on his progress. He's throwing it back to an old Season 1 favourite. He's going to reinstall the game again. so he will be starting ever so slightly later. But nonetheless, you will see him racing on your screens on board with Punju and Adam Sanderson as they get themselves prepped and ready. But let's check in with chat, see how everybody's doing. Andy, Mike's in chat, George is in chat, Felipe, Mateos, JPH, and the Baconator as well. Some well-known names over the course of the season. We look forward, just as we do here in the commentary box, to seeing the season out.
Indeed, there's so many fast drivers that participate in these clubs, and part of the beauty of rally actually is you don't have to be a fast driver necessarily to participate. There's battles all throughout the leaderboard, and especially in Finland, looking at the times right now from stage 1, well, the top 5 separated by quite literally 5 seconds. So you can see the tempo, you can see why they call it the Grand Prix, because normally it's like a tarmac rally. The stages are so compact and tight in terms of times, and I think this is the actual run starting now for Punju. So away we have our first driver into the stage. Let's hope he doesn't repeat that mistake.
Well, hopefully he can learn from rallies gone by, and of course that shakedown earlier in the stage as well. He's locked in, he's focused, he's wanting to take a better position than he saw himself in at the end of last season. Of course, some fantastic rounds coming our way. We've got a couple of real-life crossovers like this one with Finland. We've got our Champions round where we go to Kenya next weekend as well. And of course, John, we have a commentators round in there as well.
Indeed, and we had many discussions as we see Punju going very wide, clipping the rocks on the outside, getting away with it. I think just putting a tyre over the rocks. But once again, on the same section of road, that's 2 mistakes. I think he'll be a bit more confident now that he's through and over that section. But definitely the commentators' rally took quite a bit of deliberation. I think we ended up deciding on Central European Rally with the H3 rear-wheel drive cars, which will act as a very different challenge for our drivers. But a broad selection of stages and indeed cars. As Punju going wide, hitting a tree as well. So a little bit of damage on the car. Hopefully that won't damage the rear wing. That is crucial to keep hold of in this rally, as we've seen indeed in real life.
It certainly will be. You've got to keep the car on the straight and narrow, so to speak, and especially when we find ourselves in Finland with trees pretty much running through the entire course. You've got to be careful not to send the car off into those and accrue the all-important repair bill for our competitors. There was someone in chat a minute ago, JPH, saying the Yaris is the most balanced they find, and that is quite possibly why some of our competitors have chosen it this evening.
Indeed, especially towards the launch of the game, the Yaris was indeed the fastest car. However, there's an update that came out, I think, a month or 2 ago. At this point, it's quite a confirmed update now, which has brought the car's pace a lot closer together. It still remains that the Toyota is a little bit faster, maybe a second or 2, as we see Punju really struggling right now to find a groove. It's so difficult once you make a mistake in Finland to regain that confidence, because there's so many corners, so many blind crests. You need to be on it right from the start, and if it goes wrong, you can take a couple of stages to regain pace and confidence. A lot of these trees are unforgiving, will not give an inch. But going back to the cars just quickly, the Ford, quite a stable car, has gained quite a bit of pace with that update, and the Hyundai flies very straight. It's quite good at high speed, although a bit prone still to understeer. So it all depends on your driving style, what you're most comfortable with, because some drivers won't be confident with that oversteer that the Toyota brings.
Yeah, exactly that. I think a lot of it, when it comes down to rally, is finding the least uncomfortable option in terms of choosing your car. You might not always have it the way you want, especially on an 100% gravel rally like we find ourselves here in Finland. So if you can just maybe tame the car in a little bit, hope that it reacts the way you want it to as you fling it left and right repeatedly, avoiding the trees, of course, and Punju just finding himself a little bit close to a do not cut marker, but so far continuing through nice and comfortably.
Yes, it looks like finally he's able to find a rhythm or a pace that he's comfortable with, just negotiating. I think there's always that initial sense that everything is so fast. You can do lots and lots of practice, but when you've only got one try, only one opportunity to make the best of it, it really makes a difference as he just cuts that corner a little bit too fine and goes through a hefty bush there, which did not give an inch.
Yeah, unfortunately not this time around. Of course, you can quite often cut corners through this sort of area, but this time around, Punju not quite finding where he wanted to. And of course, I'm not sure if we're able to cut across later. We have got a very special guest in one of the cars later on. Dark Viper having his mother substitute out for the first round or for the first stage here in Finland. So, of course, it's always good to see Mama Viper back in the seat.
Indeed, indeed. It's always challenging to do some of your. 7-second reset penalty there for Punju. Interrupt the discussion there just a bit. That will not help him either. Just for confidence, because when you get a penalty, you tend to overdrive the car and push to gain that time back, which in any rally, but especially Finland, is kind of the bad thing to do. As we have Adam Sanderson on stage now as well, driving third person cam, and with radiator damage already, not a good start. And for inexperienced drivers, like Dark Viper's mum, who will be driving the first stage, as we just mentioned, confidence is everything. And if you don't know the stages, the cars, or whatever, it's such a difficult start.
I'll tell you what, she's taking it nice and leisurely through the opening stages here in Finland. You can see Dark Viper just in the background, cheering on his mum through the station. Of course, not in Australia this weekend, but maybe camera got a little bit confused on where the F1 and the F2 race there earlier in the week. But it is more like a leisurely drive to the shops for Dark Viper's mother here. But Encephalosis on the right-hand side is speeding through the lanes of Finland, seeing what they can put down, see if they can get those fresh, hot buns.
Yes, indeed. And I think actually the style of going a bit slower on this first stage, you have to have a correct balance, but some drivers picking up some hefty damage already. So there we go. The camera self-rights itself. Lovely stuff. We're back on all four wheels with everything. No, nearly. Not quite. But indeed, the stage continues. It's all fun and games here. And it's it's indeed very challenging to keep concentration, listening to the pace notes here. There's so much going on visually on screen, so much noises. You've got to worry about changing gears and stuff like that, especially if she's driving with a Formula One rim as well, which doesn't help in terms of stability. Sometimes it's quite a snappy wheel, quite a narrow wheel to get used to, as we've got Adam Sanderson having another bad moment, and I think maybe just stalling the car there. I was thinking maybe a puncture there, but looks to have survived that, as we've got Punju in the top 200, but that is not going to be a good start, and he looks quite shocked that there are so many drivers ahead of him. And as I was saying, the pace is electric right from this first stage.
It certainly is. He's now going through the leaderboard, trying to figure out where he'd be if it weren't for that 7-second penalty. It'd be around the 5-minute 54 mark for himself. So he's trying to kind of see how high he would have jumped if that reset penalty weren't to be applied to his time. But Adam Sanderson here, the man who knows hay bales all too well, is trying to learn a little bit of finish as he continues down the straight and narrow, about to cross the line. Just one little kink to the right for himself, and he's made it there pretty much scot-free. Radiator damage on that GR Yaris, but I don't think that'll let him hamper in later on in the rally. There is definitely a smile on his face.
I'd argue actually that if there's any place you don't want to get radiator damage, it's right at the start of the rally, because you will have to repair that engine at some point. So if you take damage very early on, that can set you in a deficit of repair time very early, and can just spiral from there on out. But there is some advantage. If you do get engine damage, you'll be going a little bit slower. So it can have positive effects. Sometimes some drivers' rallies have been better because they've been forced to slow down and take it a bit easier, and have profited from other people making mistakes, as we've got Jamo and G on stage as well, looking to be flying through the stages. Mum Viper picking up the pace, I must say. It's looking at a breezy pace at the moment as we go blind over the crest here. A difficult stage to start off on, the night stage. I wouldn't be rating this experience as my first or second time on the game, I presume, after last season's debut for her on this event.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to see her get back in the cockpit, in the course, just making her way through with Dark Viper's HDR monitor as well. That's why the darks look darker, the lights look lighter, and it must be rather almost terrifying going through the Finnish forest. If it's your first experience, on the left-hand side, we have Kamikaze, and what we've dubbed the Vomit Comet for this afternoon, playing in VR for what can be the first time on stream. So we get a real insight into what he's looking at as he goes through every twist and turn on this Finnish course.
Yes, indeed, Kamikaze, one of the fastest drivers in Season 2, and he has really set a blistering pace on most rallies that we have done. An interesting trend in the past couple of years has been drivers, professional or faster drivers, switching to VR to get a little bit more of that immersion and sense of what the car is doing, and Kamikaze following in the footsteps of those drivers. It'll be interesting to see what pace he can do in terms of just getting used to VR. I know a few weeks ago we did some testing and practicing, and he was slightly off the pace, so it takes a while to get used to, and as a commentator, it takes a while to get used used to looking at VR. But he seems to be doing all right on this stage. The pace, electric as always.
Yeah, he seems to be absolutely flying through the hills of Finland here, even if it is slightly hard for our own eyes to keep a track of where he's going or what he's looking at. That man is locked in as he throws his car sideways into every single corner and jump. And he's not only going through there with a good pace, he's making good time as well. Surely we'll be looking up towards the top of the leaderboard. Another face that you'll all recognise on the right-hand side of your screens. Jam, ONG, or just Jam for short. And I must admit, I absolutely love the background of his camera. That arty display wall, absolutely fantastic setting to go rallying in.
Indeed, yes. It's almost like a sunset conditions with the sort of orange or pink haze behind, suited for some of our stages here, but obviously, it's a good visual to have. We always like pretty colors on any type of content and streaming stuff that we do. So good addition. Jam streams quite a few different types of events as he takes a wrong junction there, going into someone's backyard. That's going to be interesting on the insurance bill at the end of the rally, but missing the truck there, I must admit, good avoidance. Just taking out a few barrels of, in Finland, it could be quite a few substances, so I'll leave that up to you, TK.
Well, let's just call it oil or something like that as we continue through the Finnish hills. But Jam, like you said, he'll recover quite nicely. The insurance will deal with all the paperwork later for our drivers. I'm trying to see where Kamikaze finds himself on the leaderboard. I couldn't quite catch that one in time, but certainly up within the top 10 according to where he found himself.
Indeed, the pace that he set is quite high. I'm trying to find his name on the leaderboard right now, but we have time for Kamikaze here on the first stage, which is exactly 10th place. 10 seconds off the pace exactly, almost.
Wow.
So that is a very good start for him, and a very good start for our streamers here tonight.
Yeah, indeed. Fantastic stuff. And actually, 2 minutes and 10 seconds faster than I did my first run, which we won't mention more of this afternoon. I wasn't quite in the zone. Let's call it that. But Adam Sanderson on the top right-hand side of your screen is managing to make his way through quite nicely in third-person mode. We've mentioned this on previous broadcasts. Some drivers like it just because the extra field of view that it attests them. And I think Adam is really finding that useful.
Especially when the cars are quite oversteery or quite snappy, as we call them, it can be very, very beneficial to see visually that oversteer happening. And that's what you can get with a third-person camera. You can see
exactly.
the hairpin. Unfortunate, the camera changed, but you could have seen into the hairpin. The car would visually break away from the camera a little bit, indicating that the grip has been lost from the car. And that can be a very... Kamikaze is off in stage 2 and has just done a barrel roll. That is incredible recovery. I don't think he lost much time, but that won't be very confidence-inducing. Just into a corner, I think just clipping the inside bank and going for a very high-speed roll, but he got away with it. As far as I can see. And Mum Viper has completed stage 1. I think safe and sound. Very, very good stuff from her. Congratulations.
Yeah, fantastic to see Mum Viper across the line. And actually, what will also be quite nice, she pulls into the medical tent. Hopefully, no need for attention for a driver there. But as they swap themselves out, get ready. And GG's for Mum coming in, chat. Fantastic to see. And Mum Viper always putting on a good show for everybody. 9 minutes and 42 seconds, albeit a fantastic run for herself.
Indeed, Mum Viper parking by the ambulance and saying, call an ambulance, but not for me. It's a very good start, and I think Dark Viper will also be relieved that there's no damage on the car and he can get himself really properly into this rally. But it's very, very good to see people enjoying this event, enjoying just the joy of rallying in Finland. It's quite an atypical event and something that you can't find elsewhere.
Yeah, very true. Of course, in the early days of this event, it was mainly dominated by the Swedes and the Finns, and absolutely fantastic stuff. Like now it's opened up, of course, when it became part of the European Rally Championship in the 50s, like late 50s, and now becoming part of the World Rally Championship. But this event has been around since 1951, so almost as early as most F1 events as well.
Indeed, yes. Finland, with the Finnish drivers, has such a history in rally in terms of driving. I mean, to be honest, they'd probably call this just a casual weekend or Sunday drive, really. So they're used to driving on this type of surface. They learn to drive quite early, and their driving test actually has quite a few differences compared to driving tests of other countries with advanced courses and advanced handling tests. So they get quite a good experience right from the get-go, and that means that their tradition in rallying, their sort of rallying culture, is a lot more developed than other countries. But a rally that is so fast and so unique in terms of grip and the rhythm and the jumps that only Scandinavians won it up until the 90s. I'm trying to remember the first non-Scandinavian that won it. I'm not sure. I'm thinking Richard Burns, but I'm not sure about that. So don't quote me on that one. But yeah, definitely an event that denied a non-Scandinavian victor for a long, long time.
Yeah, exactly. It's an event deep ingrained in history, and of course. And I think we've got a couple of drivers that might be up for a chat. Aerotech, of course, who's still doing that game download. Aero, let us know how your progress is going. Of course, welcome into the broadcast for season 3, and starting off with a little bit of a blip for yourself.
Yes, we are currently sitting at 65%. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are 50 gigs downloaded of 76. Stay tuned to maybe see me move a car forward later.
Forward or backwards or sideways or a combination of the above.
Yeah.
Thank God for fiber optics, as they say. But obviously, the anticipation of such the fastest sort of rally, gravel rally anyway, of the season, does that add a little bit to your anticipation?
I've never driven a Rally 1 car other than just the moments features in the game. That's it. So I was like, I'm going to get on early. I'm going to get a couple stages warm up in. I'm not a crazy practice person. But I'm like, oh, okay, I'll, grab a couple stages and whatever. And no other ideas. So I get to arguably one of the scariest rallies I've ever done and one of the scariest cars in the game, with absolutely no warm up practice or anything at all whatsoever. Excited, stoked.
It's like what we like to call a throwback to season 1. I think we had something similar around that sort of era as well. And you actually came back to make really good time, if I remember back to that early stage.
Yeah, I ended up catching up towards the second to last stage. I think I was finally at the same level as everybody else. I think whatever issue I had in season 1 was worse. I gave up immediately as soon as I figured out the game wasn't launching properly. I'm like, okay, we'll just reinstall it. I think the last time I was 2 stages in, still trying to see if I could make it work. So hopefully by the back half of the rally, I'm all caught up to everybody else.
Fingers crossed for you. Well, keep us updated on your progress as the download happens.
I'm sitting right here, fellas. I'm not doing anything. If you guys are bored, I can tell stories. You can do a campfire. You can drink some non-alcoholic beverages. I got nothing to do for the next 20 minutes.
All I'm hearing is bedtime stories with Aero, and that sounds fantastic.
Well.
Amazing stuff. Thank you,
Aero.
Aero.
My nephews.
Amazing stuff. Thanks for hopping in, bud.
Yeah, always one of those things, isn't it? You have everything planned, everything to the best of your ability, and then it just all goes wrong just before broadcast. Typical last-minute gremlins. Talking about gremlins, Punju having a role during that stage as well. I can say EXR Kamikaze, just in the background, you might have noticed the time on the board was 2.7 seconds off the pace after that roll, which is an incredible time with a mistake. And Jam ONG, 25 seconds off the pace as well, within the top 200 in that same stage. So some good times from our creators today.
Yeah, exactly that. Of course, Kamikaze coming across the line, I think, to finish off Sector 2, as you previously said. He has unmuted, so let's pull him in for a quick chat. Kamikaze, of course, choosing the VR headset for this season. How is it treating you?
It's difficult, but it's fun. Yeah, that's why we changed from triples to VR, trying some new things and have some fun.
How different is it from going from a screen to VR? Is there something you have to change in your driving? Can you get back up to pace very quickly, or has it taken you quite a while?
From a hood cam, it's very different. I need to change my timing on every corner. I need to be one step earlier on everything. now I need to think about the turn and not just do it. So yeah, my biggest struggle is where to place the car. The car feels a little bit wider, and everything feels on stream last season. Everything feels so fast. Now everything feels so small. The narrow road, everything is new. So yep. So I struggle a little bit with pace, but we will get there to the end.
Yeah, well, only 2.7 seconds off the pace after a little bit of a roll in that last stage. Good confidence in there. So some sign of maybe some stage winning times to come later on in the event. How do you think with the change of visuals, actually, a question that I have is there a difference seeing over the crests, for example? You're a bit lower down in the car. Does that influence things as well?
I need to trust that Swedish guy I have right of me. I don't see anything about over the crest. So that's compared to the hood cam. I can see a little bit more. Now it's just guessing and stage knowledge.
I've got one more question before we let you head off with your next rally. Is it more terrifying when you end up doing barrel rolls or minor mistakes in this? Does it feel like you're about to roll the car?
It feels like a carousel. You don't know where you are.
Up is down and left is right. That's what I'm hearing here.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff, Kamikaze. Well, best of luck with your next few stages, and I'm sure we'll chat to you a little bit later, bud.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. Oh, we got 4 of him on the screen. Love to see. And this is why we refer to it slightly earlier as the Vomit Comet. But nonetheless, he's going to send that Toyota Yaris Rally 1 through the next few stages. I believe we're on stage 3 now with Kamikaze.
Indeed. He is, he has supreme confidence, as always, not really phased by any of the changes. And, proper Scandinavian, as you can say. He's just used to this kind of event. As he said, you've got to use the track knowledge. And as you can see, the perspective is quite different in VR. You can see quite literally what he's talking about. The road seems a lot more narrow. The car is a lot wider just from the perspective. But there are some counterpoints that have been mentioned by other drivers, is that because you can move your head with the camera, you can stabilize the camera sometimes. So although it looks very shaky from our perspective, from his head's perspective with the motion tracking, it's actually quite stable, and he can look exactly where he wants to go. And so that can be an advantage sometimes when the camera's quite shaky, the car's bouncing around quite a lot. It can be a saving or a tiny bit of an advantage. So it's a trade-off, as always.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Mike coming in chat saying depth perception is also a huge advantage. And I think you'd be absolutely correct there. We saw Adam Sanderson just a couple of moments ago with his hands quite firmly in the air after finishing off a stage. And I wonder if we're able to pull him in for a little bit of a chat. We saw him celebrating coming across the line. I'm just trying to see where he found himself on the leaderboard. Certainly happy with the time he put in. I wonder if we can drag him in for a little bit of a chat.
Hello,
Adam, hello, welcome into the commentary box. We saw you moments ago with your hands firmly in the air. Talk us through that.
Oh, dude, I'm just happy to actually finish a stage without any damage. Well, any real damage. I hit a couple of trees, which were like twigs, but all of a sudden they hit you like an obsidian block. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. This is the first time I've touched a game in a few number of weeks, and I've taken the first 2 stages to get reacquainted with the game. It's an incredibly fun game, but just the other games, F1 just takes over my life, to be honest. But no, I'm getting back in the swing of it. I'm starting to find my groove, and I've actually found that the different camera angle allows me to see more things. The chase cam, which I hate using because it's not as immersive, blah blah blah. But I can see the trees before I hit them. You know, it feels nice to have that. I'm going in there. Okay, cool.
Is there a different feeling, maybe also of how the car is handling? Can you maybe see the oversteer happening? Maybe it gives you a little bit more confidence. Does that have anything to do with about it?
Maybe. I think, to be honest, the only thing that's helping me is the fact that I'm about to see things. Like, I've got a really good feeling through the wheel, through the pedals, of how the car's performing. I don't use any assists, so I know like when the wheels shouldn't be scrubbing, when to trail brake and all that stuff. It's just literally the trees. That's the only thing that is stopping me from getting any faster. The amount of trees that I keep hitting, which obviously probably indicates that I'm not staying on the track. But it's all good fun. It's all good fun. Like I said, I was happy with this last one because I kept it somewhat together.
As we say in rally, the track limits start with the trees, so you're doing an okay job.
Exactly. I'll get quicker as the night goes on. I'll check in later and tell you, look, oh my god, that game is loud in my ear. Sorry. And then all of a sudden, I'll be in the top 10 in no time. Don't you worry.
Well, that we definitely look forward to. Best of luck with the next couple of stages, Adam. And I'm sure we'll catch up with you a little bit later, bud.
Bye bye.
Just a quick. Sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to mention, while we've got Kamikaze's view up on screen here, one of the specificities of the Toyota is that the windscreen is quite curved, and sometimes when he's going sideways, he can't actually see the apex because the sort of sun strip on the car there that you can see on the windscreen is blocking his view over the crest. So another interesting thing about VR that sometimes can take your eye off the ball quite literally.
Yeah, but I think the added advantage being able to look through that left-hand window, as you saw him do as he's leaning into that slide, really starts to help him out, of course, in stages like this where you have a very slidey gravel track in front of you, just sending that car sideways as much as you possibly can, using the boost as well out of every single corner. And Kamikaze, I think he's definitely starting to find his feet with the VR, looking up and down, maybe ducking every now and then, just to get the better view past that sunstrip, which you just mentioned.
Yeah, I know these fast gravel rallies are some of his favorites as well, so he'll have utter confidence no matter what he does or the things that are happening. Even if he makes a small mistake, he will be absolutely sending it, let's put it that way. And you can see that just the setup is really good. He's got the car rotating on the front axle as you want it to, and it's just power sliding through the corners using the boost whenever possible. And that just looked like a supremely confident drive, and one, if I was racing against him right now live side by side, I would be very, very worried about the type of pace and consistency that he is showing here. And I think his time is somewhere in the lower top 10, it looks like. Can't see his time on screen, actually, which is an interesting one. But it will be somewhere. He's about to scroll down, I think, to that time. Has he made a mistake maybe in that stage?
20 seconds.
13 seconds off. So maybe a spin in there or something like that. 13 seconds, yeah, 6 seconds for a spin, call it, and then just regaining confidence. So perhaps something happened off camera, and happening on camera is Dirk Chocolate going straight into a tree, but recovering it very nicely, just ricocheting off there in sort of a pinball effect. I'm not sure whether he's during the actual... He is during the rally, because there is the recover to next day on screen there, but it looks like he's just modifying a few settings on the fly.
Yeah, just getting himself ready to go. And I wonder if we can bring a little special guest in. We spoke of hiccups and technical gremlins earlier on, but one man that isn't rallying, but he's sat with our creators having a nice chat, keeping them entertained, is the wonderful man, B-Roy himself. B-Roy, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys? Good to be here.
Doing very, very well. Of course, yourself not racing, you've had a few technical gremlins biting at your ankles, so to speak, but you're keeping everyone happy, keeping everyone cheered up as well.
No, they're keeping me entertained, man. I'm very sad that I'm not part of it. I'm sad that the pedals did give out, but I did get got to shout out my buddy Hot Rod AA. He's the one that is letting me borrow his pedals while his base is getting serviced. So I'll be back for next week. But no, these guys are keeping me entertained. These guys are doing really well. Some of them are struggling a little bit, but it's to be expected with these fast horsepower cars. And you know, they're, like I said, they're keeping me entertained. This is fun. Just being on the other side of it, seeing how I wouldn't say seeing how the thought process is, because we're all muted and focused and everything like that. But you know, it's definitely entertaining. That's for sure.
How disappointed are you, perhaps, to be missing out on such a fast rally such as Finland?
Oh, not at all. No, I'm messing. I'm kidding. No, I am upset. I don't do well in these cars to begin with. It's one of those things I've said multiple times that I prefer a much more stable, lower horsepowered car to kind of get myself stable and feel myself through the corners and stuff like that. And just I feel like with the Rally 1 car that they're racing today, it's just it's really hard to make those quick and subtle adjustments, especially when you don't have handbrakes to help slow you down. I mean, it's just like a lot of technological factors that go into those higher horsepower cars, and like the older generation cars, the H2 rear wheel drives, stuff like that. It's a lot easier to just kind of calm down. So
an interesting one. Most people would say the but that's I mean, it's good to have people that like the rear-wheel drive cars. Sometimes they can be a bit 50-50 whether people like four-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. So I got a good selection of that in this season, so I'm sure you'll find something to show all of the pace that you have in the later rallies.
Well, I got to do something better than last season. I think I only scored like 1 point all season. I mean, every time you guys cut to me, I was in a tree or I was in a barrier or something, man. I just got to do all I got to do is score 2 points this season. That's all I got to do, and then this season's already a better success.
Amazing stuff, B-Roy. It's looking forward to next week when, of course, you do come and join us back in the rally seat. We're going to Rally Kenya in the Group A cars.
Ooh, that should be a
on
fun time. Well, we did Kenya last year, and it was already such a rough circuit or a rough rally as it was. In Group A cars, it's definitely going to be. It's still going to be very challenging, but I'm honestly looking really forward to it. I'm going to put some practice in and hope, like I said, score more than 1 point. That's the goal. But hopefully I can bring some. Competition to these guys. These guys are all really fast. These guys are these guys are champions in their own respect, and I can't wait to see what I can bring to them. Kenya was a lot of fun last season, and if I can just have that same amount of fun and pick up the pace just a tiny bit, I think we'll be there.
Amazing stuff. Just one more thing before we go. There's 2 rounds in here that you probably aren't going to be a fan of. Round 3, Rally Pacifico, is the wild weather round. I will allude to that a little bit later on. But Monte Carlo, I remember last time out, you didn't have the best event there, and we're back on with the ice.
All right, you can move me back now. No, I am not looking. Is it the same car as last time? Is it the front wheel drive?
We're on the H2 rear wheel drive for Monte Carlo.
Dear Lord.
Oh no. No, don't tell me to enjoy it. It's not an enjoyable moment. No, look, as a Florida man, we are not used to ice, okay? Florida men are not used to ice. We don't know what that is. So it's probably going to end the same way as long as if I DNF in the same spot again, all I'm going to say is consistency is key. That's all I'm going to say. Consistency is key. Same spot, same ending.
Amazing stuff. Well, we wish you the best of luck when we see your return next week in Kenya. I'm sure we'll chat to you again at some point later on in the broadcast just to see how drivers are feeling in their little cool-down room. But as always, B-Roy, a pleasure to speak to you.
Absolute pleasure, guys.
I already have the newspaper title written out now. Florida man gets caught out by frozen puddle.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Just adds to the collection of Florida man news headlines. But I wait to see that one. I think B-Roy on the snow and ice is always a good fun for the broadcast. Dirk Chocolate coming across the line there. I believe to finish off their first stage. I might be wrong with that. I'm absolutely wrong with that.
I think it's stage 3. Stage 3.
Stage 3, yes.
There you go. I was just looking up the names there, looking at the times. 200th, around 200th, which is not a bad time, to be honest. The times, apart from the front runners, they do drop off a little bit because of the confidence. You have to have stage knowledge if you want to push the limits. And we've seen quite a few of our drivers during the interviews there, including Punju, having a few spins and a few offs and getting away with it, it must be said, for most of them. So it's a fast rally and ones that's not taking prisoners, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think Dark Viper might have had a bit of a met through Sector 2 as well. Just looking at his time for the stage, it was about a 5-minute 3. So I wonder if not being able to account for some time. He did have a lot of penalties though, so maybe something went wrong for himself. But everyone else finding their way through. Ancephalosis again, one of the fairly standard drivers for this broadcast. Now he knows his way around the rallies. He's over quite a successive number of jumps here, and he's handling them well in that Ford Puma rally, keeping it on the gravel in front of him. That's quite a common place for drivers to lose the car, and almost spoke too soon here, Isa.
For once it is not me jinxing the drivers, but yeah, quite right. Just went into that corner a little bit deep on the brakes, and just didn't get the Scandinavian flick in. So you've got to put the car to the outside of the corner a little bit, then turn back in to get the weight transfer done. And that provides a really good slide, even with four-wheel drive, and prevents you from having understeer. One of the many techniques that Scandinavians get used to at a very early age in their various forms of motorsports. Ancephalosis going off the road. I was going to mention also Jam missing the entire front end of the car. So there's been a serious crash there as well. So quite a bit of damage on that one. A very fast stage, this one. One of the fastest, one of the shortest stages in terms of time as well. We're looking at just over 5 minutes for a medium length stage, which is blistering pace here. And if you put a foot wrong, again, there is just no forgiveness. As you can see, the trees don't take any prisoners. I just say that Jam straight off at just
Puncture
top speed, I think. Puncture as well, which I think he's just repaired. And that is the worst case scenario, because that will just, even just before service now, that will mean that the car needs a hefty repair in service, and he'll have to start making some very bad decisions. As you can see, the car is not turning as he'd like already. He's got quite a bit of understeer there. That's going to be very, very difficult, because you've lost all of the front aerodynamics, presumably some suspension damage or brake damage, or even wheel damage at this stage. And yeah, that car is not going to be easy to drive.
Yeah, I don't think he actually repaired that puncture. He got the reset penalty, but I didn't see the 90 seconds come up for the tyre repair penalty as well. So definitely, well, almost certainly driving on 3 wheels at the moment is Jam. Ancephalosis there with a considerable repair bill, and I wonder if he's going to take the risk here of overextending that the service area, and if he can maybe take the risk.
I will. It'll be very, very difficult to not repair stuff like the radiator and the engine. He's got a lot of bodywork damage. Now, you'd think bodywork not the most important to repair, but think of stuff like Formula 1. You have to repair your front wing, as it's the most important bit of car performance, apart from losing a wheel from hitting a barrier, for example. So actually, in a fast rally like this, you want to repair the bodywork, because otherwise the car is going to be so unbalanced over the jump that you risk nosediving, or having the nose just go up as well because of lack of aerodynamics. So it can lead to even more accidents. So very, very difficult to get a good repair or a good balance between time penalties and what's important on the car.
Yeah, exactly. It comes down to that balance of whether you want the engine, the turbo, the ability to accelerate the car, or whether you want the aero, the steering, the ability to control the car. And yeah, I wonder if we're able to get Ancephalosis in for a quick chat. He hasn't undeafened quite yet, so no, we'll catch him later on in the stage. That Ford Puma looking rather impeccable in its blue Red Bull style livery, and I must admit, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, although I will say I am quite keen on the 24 edition of the livery, which we will get quite soon in the game with future updates for 24 season content. And yeah, the Ford are masters of making beautiful cars and also beautiful liveries, and so they've continued in that tradition, and also making a very stable car to drive. I think a lot of people taking the Ford because I would say it's probably the most forgiving car in terms of grip. It's quite consistent. You don't get much snap oversteer or understeer, so you can hopefully drive around most of the handling problems that you may or may not get.
Yeah, Jam looks fairly locked in at the moment. Hopefully he doesn't find himself in a sticky situation. A lovely waved camera there. Oh my goodness, we've done it again.
pinballing off the trees. The wave to the camera maybe at the end of the stage might be best when you're driving on 3 wheels, but you've got to give a little bit of a nods to the commitment. And yeah, it's very, very difficult at these speeds when you're basically bouncing on the rim of that tireless wheel now, and that's not gone well. The spectators, which obviously in real life would move out of the way, do not have the ability to save jam the reset penalty on this occasion, sadly.
I'd love to see the pedestrian diving update as they all just yeet themselves out the way in game. But yeah, that extra tyre really not coming to the aid of Jam here, just as he's about to finish up this stint in the rally. It's tight and technical through this final sort of few hundred meters of the course, trees either side, which we've had for 90% of the stages as we go through minor relief areas. But he just cannot get that car turned in at the amount of speed that he'd want to in any way, shape or form.
I think the frightening thing is that the stages that we have here are not some of the absolutely fastest stages you could get in Finland. Stages like Onnenpoja and others. And I'm thinking also of Lauka in terms of stage. They are so incredibly fast, and these stages which we have here are quite medium speed stages with quite a few sharp turns, quite a few braking zones. So it could indeed get a lot faster for the drivers with even more trees to hit. So I'm sure some of them are quite happy that we have those sort of compromise stages here. 11 seconds penalty. Honestly, that's a very good decision to continue driving on the tire, because he would have been 1 minute 30's worth of penalty behind in any case. So with the reset penalty that he got for the little excursion there, that is a net positive in terms of time loss, if that sentence makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, and hopefully to the viewers at home as well, it makes sense. But Jam finding himself, of course, in 281st place. 6 minutes 42 for that stage. Just actually only pipping myself out by 9 positions. So I think that probably says more about him than it does for me. But Punju and Adam Sanderson on your screens. And interestingly enough here, Isaac, Adam has chosen a different camera angle going forward.
I was about to mention that, yes. I just noticed it before we switched to the cameras here. Possibly just not gaining the confidence that he needed at the very high speeds. The one disadvantage of going with the exterior camera angle is that on some turns when the car is sliding, the camera is just a tiny bit off center, so maybe 5-10 degrees off center, and it doesn't quite give you the accuracy required on a wheel. If you're on a controller, it's brilliant, but on a wheel, sometimes it can be a bit off-putting in terms of where the car is going, how much speed you're carrying, for example.
Yeah, very, very true. And I think for a lot of drivers that drive with that wheel, you almost want a sense of feeling in the car. You almost go back to a sense of normality, especially if you drive in real life. You know what the car's going to do. You can expect it in some regards. Adam maybe not quite figuring it out this time around in a very powerful WRC 1 car. But for the time being, it goes back to muscle memory in many forms of the word.
Most definitely. I think the main difference that you can get is we've got Aerotech at the end of the stage now driving. It's good to see that. Finally, Aerotech getting some times on the board. He'll be wanting to catch up as soon as possible, as we've got Punju completing this stage. I think that is stage 1 for Aerotech. So just inside the top 300, which is a good start. Doesn't look like there's any damage on the car. So that's a confident start to the rally. And it's all good news that everything is working as he wants to. I was just going to mention with the cameras, the one main difference that you have from real life to here is you can't move your perspective unless you're in VR. For Kamikaze, for example, you can lift your head slightly and see a tiny bit more over the dash. You can see the drivers doing it a lot in real life, just lifting their eyesight a little bit over the crest. And that's the sort of compromise that you have between in-car camera or exterior camera.
Yeah, very true. That's a very distinct difference between the traditional camera and the VR, as you said. I think we're going to be able to get Punju in very quickly just to have a chat as how his rally is going. Of course, founder of the WRC event here. Punju, welcome in to the commentary box. How are the first few stages going for yourself here?
They're not too bad. I've had better, I've had worse. It's intense for sure today. I'm having to work very hard today, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've had a couple little mistakes here and there, but nothing too crazy. It's been a lot of fun.
See, I didn't know that WRC was in the Olympics category of gymnastics. You've done quite a few pirouettes and spins, and I think you might be getting the gold medal in that one. But are you aiming for the gold medal in the Creator Series this week?
I'm always aiming for at least bronze. You know, I recognize that I'm not the best. I've had especially quite a few big offs in this round so far. None of them have been fatal, but they've all been pretty detrimental, especially 2 stages ago where I lost my front bumper going over the hill. So if I do at least semi-decent, I'm happy today.
Amazing stuff. Go for it. Go for it.
No, carry on, TK, carry on.
No, I was half replying to chat at the same time, but no, fantastic rallies that you've lined up for us here as well over the course of the entire season. Rally Finland being an IRL crossover, certainly a great one to start our season off here, surely.
Yeah, it's one of my personal favorites. Obviously, this happened to also be the opening round of Season 1 when we very first started this club as well. So it's a nice little, homage to Season 1, Round 1. It's pretty cool that Season 3 gets to start the exact same car track combo. And that season, I just want to say, I did have an overall stage win across the entirety of the club. Now, we maybe only had 30 members, but that's neither here nor there. It was still, if you go back into the records, the final stage, I won the power stage outright. So, I want to say that.
Well,
the fact that you did indeed by 1.5 seconds.
It was a good one. Yep. And it also ended up getting me like a win over somebody else. Can't remember who I was competing with at that moment, but yeah, I beat a friend on that one as well. But obviously today, nowhere near the same result. I do not expect to be anywhere near that. I'm having fun participating today. That's how I'm at today for sure.
That's the one thing, isn't it, with the amount of competitors that we have now, that pace, that sort of consistency you need to be at the top of the standings now is just ever increasing. And positivity in that, I think, in any case.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing. I mean, obviously, the best cream rises to the top. Is that what the phrase is? So, like, it's cool to see, like, the more and more people that jump in here, the faster and more competitive it gets. We're on... Oh, there's one of my 360s right now. That was a very clean one, too. We're on, like, 420 entrants today, I want to say. Maybe even more. So, like, it's a big entrance rounds today. Our best round I think we had was last season's season finale of 450. So, we're almost tying that today. I'm stoked.
Yeah, 424 total entries for the start of Elite Stage 1 this afternoon. We've got 3,141 members in the club, which is absolutely fantastic to see, considering what the initial target was, 50?
50 to 100, yeah. So,
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm just glad that everybody's having fun with it. That's the biggest thing for me. Obviously, I'm out here having fun, and I'm glad everybody else is having just as much, if not more.
Amazing stuff. John, anything for Punji before we let him get back in the cockpit after a trip through the grass there?
I was just about to say, yeah, about 5 seconds there, just observing the lovely drifting skills and gymkhana skills. You've got a few difficult stages coming up after these some night conditions, tricky conditions. Are you looking to increase your pace, or are you going to try and secure a, let's say, consistent result, hoping that other drivers make a few mistakes in here?
Definitely gonna go for consistency over everything. I think that I can go faster, and especially if I do well on that night rain stage, that's a really good opportunity to make some places up because I'm pretty good at night rain usually. So, yeah, I think that's a really, really unique opportunity for me to go and put down a good time. The morning rain is gonna be hard because it's very glossy. It's really hard to see the ground properly. But night rain, in my opinion, is like the really, really fun and difficult one that everyone's usually scared of, and I fully intend on sending it hard on that one.
Amazing stuff. Well, thank you, Punji, for coming in and having a chat. Well, we'll check on you a little bit later on in the rally and see how you're getting on as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, dude. From one driver to another, I think it's time to bring Ancephalosis in to the commentary box. Ancephalosis, welcome in for, I think, your first time this season. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you guys again for having me. As always, we had a bit of a difficult stage on stage 3. Took some heavy hits to the front, unfortunately. I'm not sure. I think I was expecting a little more traction, but I just overdrove the vehicle a bit. But we clawed it back a bit on the last stage, got P60, which put us at about 120 overall. So I'm happy with that. We did have a pretty rough stage, but hopefully you can keep clawing back here and make that progress back.
You mentioned the grip wasn't what you expected. How difficult is it to, let's say, practice and then translate that time into a rally where you have to run multiple stages with the same tires, or you have to run a compromise on the tires depending on the conditions? How difficult do you find that, and how do you go about sort of making sure the difficulty is reduced as much as possible?
Right. Well, I would have liked to have practiced that kind of thing a bit more. I do try to keep those things in mind. Like you mentioned, not using the same compound I practiced with. For example, I think when you do time trials, they would have used like super softs, but I'm on the softs now, and I'm a few stages deep. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. Ideally, I would have done a bit more practice so that I could have been a bit more prepared. I think what happened was between the different tire compounds and just the elevation change there was on that turn, I was expecting a bit more traction. But I would have liked to have prepared by doing a bit more practice, but I think that's where it showed, unfortunately.
Finland's one of those rallies where you have to have supreme confidence. They say it in real life. It remains ever so true. I think even more maybe in a simulator, because you don't have the G-forces to give you an accurate feeling of exactly what the car is doing. So a very, very tricky rallying confidence. Are you feeling confident at the moment?
Yeah, I'd say like 70-80% confident. I am feeling pretty good. Optimistic, we'll say.
That's probably a lot better than most other drivers, so I think we'll take that.
Fantastic stuff, Ancephalosis. I don't know if you've got a shorter name that you prefer us to call, or happy to stick with Ancephalosis.
Andrew is good if you'd like.
Andrew, perfect. That works well for us.
Okay.
For those of you who couldn't hear at home, Gareth, our producer, just said, make the commentators' lives difficult and force us to use the long name. But anyway, no, pleasure to always have a chat with you, dude, and best of luck for the next few stages.
Thank you guys so much. Hope to make you proud.
Best of luck.
It's lovely to hear drivers enjoying themselves in general in the rally and just as part of the broadcast. It's lovely to hear our producer as well having fun being agent of chaos in the background. So everybody doing their bit this evening.
Yeah, exactly. This is what you quite often miss on some broadcasters. Punju finds his way through the trees, narrowly avoiding them.
The second time that he's gone around a tree in this stage, he's just doing Gymkhana or even Rallycross with the Joker laps around the tree, extending a little bit the distance in the stage. But hey, if you go round the tree and avoid it, it's better than hitting it. So there is logic in that for sure.
Very true. Making sure the car damage is left to a minimal. Ancephalosis, aka Andrew, on the right-hand side of your screens now, heading through their own respective stages. Both of them looking cool, calm, and collected. It'll be interesting to see who is going on. B-Roy coming in chat, saying Punju kind of struggling this season. Well, I'll tell you what, maybe a few other creators have started to step up their rally game. Maybe the additional members in the club have made them start to focus a little bit more. Either way, I'm absolutely here for it.
Yes, B-Roy not participating, so resorting to psychological warfare right from the get-go of this season to make sure that he can get a few points on the board. I do like it.
I respect it.
Everything. Yeah, you have to respect it. Respect the hustle. And indeed, we hope to see him hustling, as Punju is not hustling right now. He's recovering, though. That's a good word for it. My days, he was lucky to get away with that one. Just clipping, I think, a little bit of the bank on the left-hand side there, and it just pulled the rear wheel into the tree line, really. It pulled the car into it, and luckily, I don't know how. I won't be able to explain it to you, but luckily, there were no trees where he was sliding then.
Yeah, fantastic save from himself. Eritech managing to make their way through the first few stages as well. And it's good to see him back on the virtual rally course. Dark Chocolate on the right-hand side having some camera issues there, but nonetheless, maybe a few steering issues as well. As you can see, that car looking rather damaged, missing a considerable amount of bodywork here, Isa.
Yes, just to mention as well, Punju, after having saved the car quite a few times, has now had quite a big off and got a tiny bit of damage on the car. Nothing serious, but confidence not high with that one. Yeah, in terms of damage, unfortunately for Dirt, it's looking like he's having to compromise more and more as Punju goes off a tiny bit as well again. It's one of those things where damage just turns into more damage because you lack the aero, you lack the stability, and so the car starts doing more and more unexpected things, especially on the bumps and jumps, and so you can really get yourself in trouble if you don't keep the car. Where is Punju going? I'm looking at the camera here. He's doing proper Dakar stuff in the background. And he's interpreting the racing lines and making another course, that's for sure. He seems to have found the stage finish, at least at this point. But that was interesting, going through lines where there was definitely no gravel and only grass. Yes, we've just seen the name Not Andrew as well there appearing on the broadcast. So definitely our producer trying to confuse us more and more, and it is indeed working at least partially.
Yeah, 154th on the leaderboard for himself as they headed through stage number 6. Not too bad, but also, as they said on a lot of my report cards in school, could do better.
That's a bit harsh for Finland, because could do better is normally 3 punctures and in a tree somewhere parked up, having either a trip to the sauna or some sort of barbecue with the fans. So it could be a lot worse, put it that way, as we've got a Christmas tree lighting up for dirt chocolate there. In terms of damage, that is never what you want to see, and the quick repairs only go so far, sadly, in terms of repairing all of that damage. So we've got Dark Viper just getting to the end of the same stage that Punju has completed now, so I think that is halfway through stage, this is stage 6 if I'm quite correct, so this is halfway through the rally now. They will either have more confidence than what they started with, or much, much less, depending on the drivers.
Yeah, indeed. And Dark Viper really paying homage to his name, driving in the pitch black dark that he finds himself in that room. We said hello to Mama Viper earlier, and I'm sure we'll be able to say hello to Dark Viper himself in just a few moments once he undeafens just before our eyes. But we'll check for that time. 5 minutes, 44 and 262 milliseconds. That places him in 178th place over the stage. And again, a lot of our creators find themselves in a very similar spot here.
Yes, indeed. The times seem to be converging toward that 200th place. It seems if you lose a couple of tenths or gain a couple of tenths, you can gain maybe 50 places. So there's a huge group of drivers in that sort of 200 to 300 mark that are all fighting it out for the overall places there. And it just proves how fast this rally is and how a little bit of a hesitation can lose you so many places. So keeping that accelerator flat is a lot more difficult than it seems like on a rally like this. They're definitely having to compromise on their speed in some locations, as you can see Aerotech there just navigating quite proficiently through the corners here, taking it sort of a medium attack through the stages, if I had to quantify it as something. And it's looking like after the earlier Gremlins with his setup, he's certainly looking to light up the leaderboard here.
Yeah, Aerotech's one of those drivers that he may not be 100% attacked the entire time, but I'll tell you what he will do. He will preserve that car as he runs through the stages. He'll have a minimal repair bill, and actually that will add up to seconds and minutes over the course of the rally by not damaging the car, not gaining those punctures, and it's always pretty much on the straight and narrow for himself. One driver who I was about to throw out to was Jam. Unfortunately, they've just deafened up milliseconds after deafening. But Dark Viper, who is in their preparation stage at the moment, he's left his desk, so I'm not quite sure if he's here.
He's just left, I think.
He's in the broadcast room. I think he can probably hear us.
Sorry, Gareth, one
just,
second.
hello.
I'm getting one Viper.
Oh, we have a return. We have a return.
Just want to bring some information to attention of the broadcast, is that EXR Kamikaze has had 2 very bad stages here, presumably a little bit of a crash, as we see Aerotech having a huge moment there as well. So losing 23 seconds on stage 5 and 32 seconds on stage 6.
Well, we have Mama Viper in the box. I don't know if she'll be up for a chat. We could always ask.
Hello?
Mama Viper, I know you just hopped into the chair in place of Dark. Talk us through how that first stage went for yourself. Obviously, if you're not up for chat, feel free, and we can always move on.
It was all right. I only had 10 minutes practice, if that, because we had a few problems, and then having a dog and a baby to filter in as well. But I felt like it was all right. Didn't like the track loads because of how narrow it felt, and I've never drove in the dark on the game before.
I certainly say it was a fantastic first effort for yourself. You made sure the car got there with minimal damage, and that's always what we like to see in rallies.
That's what I've got to make sure. Well, otherwise I'm out on the streets by my son if I wreck his car. It's worth it. It's not worth it. A earache from him.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing stuff.
Sometimes I just wanted to mention. Sometimes he's been a bit on the limits and losing quite a bit of time. So actually, your effort in that first stage might have actually done him quite a bit of service there.
Oh well, make sure you tell him that, just so that I can big myself up later.
You certainly won the hearts of chat as well. A lot of people coming in saying Mama Viper over Dark Viper, but we'll let you hop on with the
thank
next
you.
stage. Best
Yes,
of luck to yourself.
Thank you, and I will see you next week. Bye.
See you next week.
Swap over.
That's brilliant stuff.
Oh,
It's
amazing.
just genuinely amazing to see someone just hop on the game, do that first stage as if nothing was wrong, and just excellent driving. To be honest, what
Yeah.
more can we say?
Exactly. Well, we'll keep Dark Viper ready to put the headset back on. Fantastic first few driving from yourself. Of course, nothing compared to what your mum set in the opening stage. How's it been going, though?
I crashed in the first 10 seconds. It's not been a good stage for me. I've crashed every single time. So I've just been like, do you know what? Next week's my week. I'm just driving at this point.
It's Finland. Never give up. Anything can happen. We've seen it in real life. So many things happening toward the end of the rally. So you've still got halfway to go. There is a redemption arc here to be had if you want it.
Yeah, I finished out of Dirk one stage, but like I think I'm out of the running. Like within 10 seconds, I got a puncture on my car. Like my mum hadn't hit a single thing, and I just ruined it all.
Well, there's always the power stage to go for and those points to be had, so that could give you a little bit of oomph towards the end of the rally to get the pace back up. What do you think of your chances for maybe even just one good stage of the rally?
I've gone for that top 100 like I usually do, but it's not been my week. Last time I done this track was in Creator Series, and like I'm coming up to turns and been like, oh, I remember this. I crashed here, and then I'm also crashing at the same time.
Muscle
Yeah.
memory. I think that's
Yeah.
what it's called.
No, I always crash at the same places consistently, so at least that's something.
I
something
can
we said
relate
earlier.
too much.
It's something we said earlier. Consistency is key, especially when it comes to rally. B-Roy has popped in chat saying you beat Aerotech on one of the first couple of stages, so maybe that's something to carry you forward at least.
Yes, I like that from B-Roy. He's my biggest fan, obviously.
Amazing stuff, Viper. But we'll let you hop on with the next few stages. Best of luck to yourself, and I'm sure we'll chat to you later on, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, well, you got a double dose there. We got Dark Viper and we got Mama Viper. I know which one I preferred to speak to. Of course, the prior over the latter, but always good to speak to both of them.
I'm going to be diplomatic and say they're both wonderful. There you go.
Oh, that's a very diplomatic answer there, Isaac.
There you go. Yes, indeed. Camera trained, as they say. I was about to say to Dark Viper as well. Yes, crashing in the same place multiple times. I definitely know nothing about that through esports and stuff like that. It's not as if I've crashed sometimes 20 times in a row trying to figure out how to take a corner. So hopefully the drivers that we have here today are not going to do that and are going to prove a little bit more talented than some of my demonstrations have been in the past.
Well, we're seeing drivers at the moment. Of course, you setting the baseline for a lot of our runs here. Of course, you quite often run them on your own streams as well, trying to beat out most of our drivers. Let's put it that way, ending up normally towards the top 10 of the fields. So I've just seen what Gareth, our producer's done.
I must admit I saw that earlier and tried to keep it quiet, but there you go. It's been out on broadcast now. It's very, very tricky now to place in the top 10 of these competitions. The times are oh so close. After 6 stages, the top 2 are separated by 0.6 of a second right now. So it's ever so close, and we will see the gaps get bigger as drivers have problems. It looks like EXR Kamikaze is back on the stages with minimal damage now, but it'll be interesting to hear from him what happened in those 2 stages, because it looks like just some car damage, maybe aerodynamics or something, but definitely he needs to return to the pace here, and 2:15, I think that is well on pace. Let's just have a look. at the time, if it shows on the leaderboard here. And it is back in the top 10, so 1.4 off. A very, very competitive time. So obviously, whatever it was just minimal damage, and he's been able to fix that.
Yeah, certainly was. And just to put into perspective, that's 6/10 different between two cars. These stages, roughly around 11 kilometers on and off for some of the stages. That is roughly about 2 laps of a Grand Prix circuit. So to be 6/10 off each other is absolutely phenomenal. Let's pull in Jam before he deafens up. Jam, welcome into the broadcast and welcome in to the start of season 3. How have the first stages gone for yourself?
Hi. It's been good. It's been good. Stressful, but it's been going well.
How have you adapted to being part of a broadcast where you have to do the stages at a set time? It's a very difficult adaptation.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up. That's actually that's the hardest part for me to figure out because I have to like look at the sheet and figure out when to start and whatnot. But other than that, that's probably the most complicated thing that I've dealt with, other than the fact that my skill issue, all that kind of fun stuff.
One way to put it, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's all about the skill issues.
Well, I think you're a bit harsh on yourself. Finland takes no prisoners, and especially with some of the night stages, what do you think your chances are in those more difficult stages? Do you think you can get closer to the front of the pack with drivers maybe backing off the pace? Or
The goal is to try to get closer. What am I at right now? Vemas or whatever it is, stage 9 was it? It was the stage that I started using for practice, but I was not practicing it in the wet. So we'll figure this out as we go. The tire budget thing as well is a little bit of a struggle bus for me, but that's part of, I guess, learning. I'm learning my way through this.
out of curiosity, what strategy have you gone for? Is there a strategy?
For maybe kind of change tire when it breaks.
Change
Fairly
well,
solid
that's a
strategy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I looked at the stage. What's it called? The stage layout last night. But what I didn't do was check out what tires we had access to. So, I did the homework, but only half of it. So now I'm guessing the other part of the homework is what I'm saying. I'm not totally sure what to do the rest of that way. Yeah.
That's fine. As long as you do the first half, the second half normally falls into its own anyway. So yeah,
That's great.
looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing how the second half of your run goes. Best of luck, Jam, with it. And I'm sure we'll chat to you a little bit later, bud.
All right, sounds good.
As the saying goes, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. So the enemy being stage 1, yeah, plans go out the window frequently, even for the best of our drivers here. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he's just having to wing it on the second part of this rally.
Yeah, I think if you spoke to a few drivers a little bit more honestly, they'd always say then 90% of it is winged, there's 10% planning, but that normally goes out the window after the first stage.
Most definitely. I mean, anything can change what goes on, from punctures to aerodynamic damage or to suspension damage. Sometimes you have to change the setup because you're not confident, and that impacts tire wear. So there's so many variables to take into account. As dark chocolate just getting closer on that last corner there with the logs on the outside, very, very easily to just slide wide and get a puncture there or get some serious damage. Definitely have not done that before myself. Which is why I'm mentioning it. Let's move on from that one. But it's looking like a decent run again within the top 200 there. So it's kind of like the median times around the top 200. So I think you'll be happy with that.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think anyone competing at the moment will be happy with the performances they've been putting in. Maybe some time to be found later on in the season, but of course it is a long, long season for our drivers. Different rallies, different events coming up, and a real mix of conditions as well. And the rain has started to fall in Switzerland for some of our drivers, as we see the wiper blades activated on both Adam Sanderson and Punju's car respectively. Although Adam Sanderson's car looks like it's driving through fog with the settings.
Indeed, it does. The lighting a little bit different. That might be a setting in game. Maybe a little bit of gamma adjustment for his his screen. Sometimes it can appear a lot more dark than it actually is in the game, so adjustment there, which is why our footage looks a tiny bit different. I didn't know this stage was in Switzerland, but it's a funny looking at Switzerland, as we mentioned before. But yeah, no, definitely this stage very, very fast in terms of just having a night stage in the rain. You have to be so committed, or you have to back off, one or the other, because if you try and go a half measure in a stage like this, you just end up getting yourself in trouble offline, just off the braking zone, or just not taking the right amount of speed into the turns. And you can have some stuff like that with Punju getting so close to the rocks. I think that was on the inside of that turn. And as you can see over these jumps, it can I thought he was going wide into the braking there, but he just managed to catch it once again. He's on the limit in this stage. You can definitely tell. Those repeated jumps over the crest really can catch you off guard and just make you either spin out or just have a bad line into it.
Yeah, exactly. It's very tight and narrow, this section of the course. It's very tree line, very close towards the drivers as well. And I fear for Kamikaze, because it must make the straight and narrow, so to speak, feel like walking on a tightrope.
There is that to it, but it does give you the same perspective as if you're in car camera, just without the VR. So there shouldn't be a disadvantage in terms of that. He was referencing that compared to the bonnet cam, which gives you a lot wider view of the stage in general. The advantage of this camera really is just getting more of a sense for what the car is doing. Seeing as you're sitting a bit further back in the car, you can get an accurate feeling of how much the car is sliding, how much front grip you have. Whereas with a bonnet camera or a camera that's a bit further forward, you're only getting a feeling for what the front of the car is doing, whether you've got some understeer or not. The oversteer is more visual in terms of how much the car is just sliding. So there's, again, it can be a disadvantage one stage and an advantage another. The lighting will be slightly different per whichever camera you take. So a lot of variation. At the end of the day, for a stage like this, it comes down to what you're most confident with, as Punju is really pushing the limits of this stage. He said he wanted to have a good one here to prove that he can be on the pace, and at the moment, it's looking stellar.
Yeah, certainly is. He's managing to find some pace here in the finish. Hills, make sure I got that one correct this time around. Adam Sanderson doing the same as the rain continues to fall. This would be B-Roy's idea of not so great adventures in rally. Of course, he prefers it when it's dry, when those tyres stick to the ground, and when he can get a lot of traction through those the wheels, of course. But so far, both of the drivers on your screens managing to negate the twists and turns rather well.
Indeed, someone who's just had a little bit of a problem is Dirk Chocolate. I was mentioning that he was carrying damage on the car, as Punju just having a little bit of a collision there with the side of the road, getting away with it though. Dirk Chocolate did not repair the aerodynamics damage, and I was saying that could come back to haunt him a little bit, and it has, unfortunately. Over a flat-out jump, the nose, missing the aerodynamic package on the front, just went straight up in the air, landed late because of that. The car effectively acting like a sail and just carrying it a bit further forward, and then he landed straight into a bunch of trees, sadly, and it looks like it's just gone wrong for him on another turn as well, just off of our cameras here. For Punju, that is a very, very good stage time for him. It looked like just outside of the top 20, if I'm correct. So that is definitely what he wanted to do and what he wanted to display in terms of pace. And I'm sure he'll be quite happy with the result of that one. And maybe a bit frustrated that he can't carry that pace across to the dry stages for the moment. But there's time to change that.
There certainly is. 4 more stages coming the way of himself. I think he's just finishing off stage number 8. So you got 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I believe the latter 3 of that staying dry. It's a little bit wet for stage 9 as well for himself, but at the moment they'll be happy to see sunshine on the horizon. Speaking of horizons, Adam Sanderson crossing the finish line for himself up towards the marshals, and we'll see what time he sets in this split stage. There's a smirk on his face, but 9 times out of 10 there normally is on the face of Adam Sanderson. 189th place in that Grand Prix. Unfortunate what happened.
Yes, indeed. The Grand Prix split up into multiple parts here where you can push even harder than in a Formula One race sometimes. So, yeah, definitely flat out. That's probably why he's got a smile. Just getting a stage right in Rally Finland, especially a difficult one with rain and in adverse lighting conditions, is such a unique feeling. And when you nail a corner, get it right toward the apex with just the correct amount of speed to get it sliding all throughout the corner and carrying all of that momentum, it's so unique and so thrilling that you want to do it every corner. The problem is your luck runs out at some point, so I'm sure he has a few stories to tell from that stage.
I'm sure he certainly does, and it'll be interesting to see what he has to tell us at the end of the broadcast. Jam coming across the line there in a bit of a sticky situation himself. Not quite sure if he managed to get the run that he was hoping for. We'll wait and see where he finds himself. 7 minutes and 3 seconds for himself, 200th and 16th place at the end of that run. I think that's okay for where he might have been ending. 0 penalties as well, which is always a good one to boot, but nonetheless, more to improve on in the final 4 stages of this rally. Everyone else in their sort of repair era at the moment. Dirk Chocolate finding the trees.
I think we've got, was it potentially B-Roy in for possibly another interview here? Obviously on the sidelines, as we mentioned earlier, but how do you think the drivers have been coping so far with this rally?
Most of them are really struggling. Just from the voice chats that I've heard, Adam's confidence has been really dwindling, and Punju's actually seems to be rising. The more and more he goes on. I mean, he's had a couple of top 20, 25 finishes in the last couple of stages. So, I mean, there's some drivers that are gaining confidence. Arrow's been doing really well. Dirk has had a couple of moments, but he's been getting himself up there. He's building the confidence back up after his issues, and you know, and some people are faltering. I mean, Adam's getting a little bit better about his driving, obviously with the 189th finish in that last stage. But his confidence is dwindling. Same with Kamikaze. I mean, Kamikaze still had some really good times, but his overall, he doesn't feel like he's doing great to get towards that top.
Yes, you just mentioned Punju having a good couple of stages. He has unfortunately just gone off in the next stage and looks to have some serious potential, I think, puncture damage going on there. So that is not what we wanted to see. And it looks like he's stuck in some trees, which is very, very unfortunate. Right next to the stage there as he just gets going. He's lost about 15 seconds, I'd say. And it's very difficult to tell. I think he does have a puncture.
He's done it again.
Yeah, it seems to happen every single fast gravel rally for Punju. Just seems to derail towards the second half. He had such a great stage in the top 20, as you were saying. You know, he seemed to be gaining confidence, but the commentator's curse going your way this time.
Oh, that's what I needed, man. That's what I needed. That's the great thing about being a sideline reporter today, is that you get to that commentator curse. It's so great. It's so good. But no, go ahead, TK. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's a fun one to ensue on certain drivers, even somewhat unintentionally.
Exactly. And I obviously, I have no speed compared to, Kamikaze and Punju. But, hey, if it puts them down a little bit towards the leaderboard, gets somebody up a little bit more, hopefully me, if I can get my pedals right, then I think we should be good. But no, like I said, the varying degrees of how people are feeling, it keeps fluctuating stage after stage. Like every time that you get in, you don't know who you're going to you don't know who's going to have a positive attitude about it, even if they do have a good stage, or they're going to have a bad attitude and they had a bad stage. Hell, people have been having bad attitudes and they've had really good runs. So I mean, it's just all a confidence thing about how you feel out of the stage.
It's a bit like a Formula One race. When you make a mistake, you lock up the brakes, miss a braking zone, or go wide into a gravel trap. It takes a couple of laps, maybe a couple of corners, if you're really good at getting back on pace, just to gain that confidence a little bit and start pushing again. And I think maybe in rally, this sort of constant cornering, constant speed, constant braking zones, make sure that you have to reach the end of the stage before you can get confidence again as it goes from bad to worse. I have no other words for Punju at the moment. He's not had a good stage, but at least he's shedding body panels and getting a bit of weight off of his car. That's one positive, I think.
Exactly, and I'm intrigued to hear. Oh yeah, I just see what you were talking about, that right hand, that 90-degree right hander, and cracking the windshield there. Yeah, he's I'm interested to hear how he's gonna feel about this stage afterwards, and how he takes it throughout the rest of the rally. Because we only have how many stages do we have left? We have 3 stages, I think, left to
Yeah,
go.
3 more to go.
3, yes.
Oh wow, I was on the
3 more.
money. Nice guess. But yeah, you can see it all over his face. He's super dejected right now. Like I said, I'm curious to see how that is going to affect him throughout the rest of the rally. I think it's a repair stage. So I think thankfully, or this next part, he's going into a repair. So thankfully, he's not going to lose too much time with repairs, and he'll be able to get back going. And but yeah, I don't know how this is going to affect him the rest of the rally. I don't know if it's something that he can put past.
We'll have to wait and find out. That's one of those things you've just got to let time tell the tale.
Exactly.
Very true. Of course, it's a mental game as well. It's not only a physical thing on the car, which might have that impact on performance. 187th place for Punju himself. Again, fortunately, no penalties for him though. That's something that you want to avoid as we continue through the rally. But the mental game, as we've alluded to over the last kind of couple of moments, that's the one that you've really got to be cautious for. But B-Roy, thank you as always for having your ear to the ground with all the drivers, and I'm sure we'll chat to you again in a little bit, bud.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much, dude. It always makes me chuckle.
Yeah, it's great to hear his perspective on things. I think this season he's put all of his stats into psychological warfare at the moment to make sure that drivers don't score the points that he needs to score for the season's standings. And it appears to be quite effective for the moment. I think Kamikaze having a little bit of a retune maybe of the VR headset or something potentially going on there. But he's had another stage where he's been bizarrely off pace, 13 seconds off the pace. Again, in stage 8, if I'm correct, or stage 8, off the pace for some reason. So a little bit to explain through there, but I'm sure we'll get the full story when we get potentially towards the end of the rally. But a good start, it must be said. VR very difficult to get used to, so to be this much on the pace already is incredibly impressive. Dirk Chocolate as well, being quite impressive after the earlier offs. It looks like he's still, consistently on the pace. He said he wanted this season to be a bit more consistent. Finland's not the rally to start with if you want consistency. You want something a bit lower speed. But a good attempt nonetheless.
Yeah, very true. Dirk, he'll find his feet in this rally, that's almost for sure. He'll build up a little bit of confidence as we head into the rest of the season. You're not necessarily always going to be your fastest straight out the gate, and as they say, you've got to walk before you can run, and Dirk is certainly walking on this rally. As I say, he's into a tree. A bit of the commentator's curse striking again for our driver. I think we've had that in bucket loads this afternoon. First, well, I can't remember who was first, but definitely most recently, Dirk Chocolate just there, and I think there's plenty more to come here, Isa.
Yes, well, we have to start as we intend to carry on. So we've got to be consistent as well in the commentary booth. And one thing I will say about this rally, either you find your feet or you find a tree. And sadly, for some of our drivers, it's been the latter rather than the former. So, yes, I think, unfortunately for Dirk, he's got quite a bit of engine damage here because he's not going up through the gears as I would expect him to. And that speed is not necessarily... he's missing about 30 kilometers per hour compared to what I'd expect him to be doing throughout this section of stage. So potentially some quite big damage on the car there. I think he's still got that aerodynamic damage. For Punju, it looks like he has been able to repair at least the windscreen. It doesn't look like he's repaired the aerodynamics because he went very nose high and is indeed in the trees. Once again, taking another line throughout the trees. This is the exact same location where he went just a bit of a Dakar move in the other direction. But it's... the confidence, as I was talking about it, the confidence has to come back. He has to have at least a couple of sectors where everything goes smoothly. But you can see the car lifting over every slight crest, and you lose the steering. When the front end lifts off the ground, you lose the steering, and that means that either your confidence can't come back, or you just can't turn, and so you have to back off.
Yeah, very, very true. And the steering goes light in a way. You don't have that control. You don't have the traction that you'd want, especially through the tight and technical area that we find ourselves in the moment. Houses left and right, those small walls that kind of crop up out of absolutely nowhere. The telephone poles as well. Kamikaze, though, has managed to get his VR working. And boy, oh boy, he loves sending that car sideways.
Indeed, indeed. He's in the same section of stages. Punju, oh, big crash for Punju. Getting away with it with a pirouette, but he's very shocked about that. But incredible moves once again, recovering the car. Not what he wants to do at this stage. He will get damage from it. This is the longest stage of the rally as well. Payala stage, which is 24 kilometers, if I remember correctly. No, 23 kilometers, close enough. So about 10 to 11 minutes, depending on how much confidence, how much damage you have on the car. Kamikaze also, I think, has some aerodynamic damage as well, which could explain his pace. As the front end of the car lifted there, as well as Punju is once again not having the best of stages here. Just, I think, having to avoid the logs there.
Yep, those logs can be absolutely treacherous. That is a puncture that he's had to repair. 90 seconds added to his time. And that was really going to hurt the time. It was not going the best of ways so far anyway. But 90 seconds additional time added is really going to throw him down that leaderboard.
Yeah, he's 3 sectors into a 16-sector stage. At that point, you have to stop and repair the tire. And the problem is now, if he does not have 2 spares in the car, he really needs to be careful because the next puncture at this stage of the length of stage is probably a retirement, and that's an interesting reset penalty. Maybe a spectator hiding in the tree there, but just a little, compounding the frustration maybe for this stage. It always happens that way. You can see the supreme confidence you need to set fast stage times in here, having to cut a little bit over the grass in certain stages. This is what really makes the difference in terms of those last couple of seconds per stage, is just knowing where you can put a wheel on the grass, where there's rocks, where there's trees, where there's maybe a barrier hiding in that long grass, or a bank on the outside of the corner. You have to know every section of the stage, millimeter by millimeter. And yeah, EXR Kamikaze wanting to make up that time, it looks like, and he is going 110% on this stage.
Yeah, very, very true. I think that reset penalty and, of course, the tyre repair as well, really going to affect his mental attitude, maybe overdriving the car in some regards. But I wonder what the Lorax would have to say for all that. Of course, he speaks for the trees as we continue through the hills here in Finland. I was almost going to say Vietnam, then that could have been interesting.
Has gone wrong for Kamikaze. He has done a spin as soon as he was off camera there. I think he just clipped a tree on takeoff for one of the jumps, and it spun him all the way around. He had to stop and reverse. So yeah, it just shows how close to the limit he is, and how millimeter precise you have to be on these stages. As Punju's going through that same section, I think, just a few corners behind, and yeah, you can see both of them committing to the corners, but it's so difficult.
Yeah, exactly that. It's a battle of endurance now with these longer stages. You can see just how many checkpoints that Kamikaze's got to go through on the left-hand side of the screen, and now even on Jam screen as well. I think you were saying 16 split stages to go through. It's a battle of mental fortitude at some regards on this stage, and Dirk Chocolate has come off all the worst as he crosses the finish line by the marshals to finish off that stage. Trying to figure out what one that one is.
That was the end of the long stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. I mean, completed the stage. He'll get some more repairs on the car, which is always what you want as a driver. You definitely want to repair that radiator damage that he has, but he definitely needs to repair that aerodynamic damage. And I'm not sure he's aware that that's what's making the car drive so terribly sometimes. Yeah, if you're missing that front bumper completely. But again, it looks like he's got much bigger fish to fry in terms of repairs. He's got radiator damage, serious exhaust damage as well, and the brakes looked like they're shot as well. So, yeah, what use is aerodynamics if you can't stop the car?
Very, very true. Throwing back to your quote from a few rounds ago, brakes only slow you down, but in this case, they sometimes need to if the car isn't quite up to spec for some of our drivers. Jam across one of the split stages, but on this screen, on Kamikaze, your top right-hand view at the moment, he's absolutely throwing that car into every single corner. And I'll tell you what, I'm liking the VR view more and more as we continue through the rounds.
Most definitely. It looks a lot smoother than some VRs I've seen before. So technology marching on as always, and yeah, definitely on. Well, as I said, I was about to say, it gives him confidence. It gives him one thing, radiator damage, and two, a long trip around, and he looks like he's got lost there. Actually, getting back on stage. Yeah, he just had to take avoiding action. Basically, he had the choice to turn left into the house or turn right to avoid.
He certainly did. And now we've got Dirk Chocolate in the seat just before he heads off for his penultimate stage. Dirk, first of all, welcome in for Season 3. And second of all, talk us through how the rally's gone so far for yourself.
Not great. Yeah, I think not great is the word I'm going to use for. I had technical issues right at the start and it completely threw me. And I know that I need good rhythm before I get going. So it can completely through me, and it's just not being the best start. But when it does go well, it goes extremely well. So it gives me confidence for what's to come.
Indeed, yeah. It's one. I mean, Finland. Starting off in Finland is not the easiest of times for you, that's for sure. But I hope that the last two stages can be quite enthralling for you. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's kind of forced me to go, so it's already an interesting start. But yeah, you know what? I also did that thing I did last year where I completely forgot. You know what? Rally should do interviews like this. It'll be much more interesting. What am I saying? I did the same thing last year.
In interviews.
Yeah, I did the same thing last year. I forgot to take new tires again. So yeah, kind of peak.
So old tyres for yourself as you head through what is now the penultimate round or penultimate stage.
This time I took the right tyres. Good girl. Yeah, this time I took the right tyres, but before I didn't take the right tyres. This is really hard. I see why they don't interview whilst they're driving, actually.
Yeah, it's too much for a brain to process normally, but I'm quite enjoying this. I might talk to you for the rest of the stage.
I can stay. There'll be a lot of screaming and moments where my brain is lagging because it's trying to think about what to do, what he's saying at the same. This is a lot. I'm a male, by the way. I'm not built for this. We're just gonna go around this house actually. As a male, it just doesn't work.
And now time for the mid-stage maths question. 7 plus 3.
10? Is that a hairpin?
I think it is indeed. Yes, that's more like a 3.
Christ.
But yes,
I was too busy thinking about 7 plus 3.
And now we move on to the advanced section. What's the square root of 47?
Say not a 7. I don't know. That's I have a puncture. I hate you lot.
On that note, Dirk, we'll let you get back to the rally.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Catch you.
that has to be one of the most just amusing interviews that we've ever done. Credit to Dirk for trying that one, but I think we found out possibly why the drivers aren't interviewed mid-stage at 150 kilometers per hour.
I think that does answer that one, and at least Dirk's got an answer to his question. By the way, for the chat, I have no idea what the square root of 47 is. It was a random number that popped into my head.
I'm not good at maths. I can barely do 1 plus 1, so there you go. And I think it equals 3. So yeah. It's I mean, you could. Oh, that's Kamikaze with a huge crash there toward the end of the stage. So I think he's got a puncture definitely from that. Looking at the steering, but yeah, that's not what he wanted. And I think again the frustration of the earlier incidents during the stage may be coming out on this one. which is unfortunate but understandable when you've driven such a high octane rally, fast rally, and it goes from bad to worse on the roof. That is potential big damage. I don't see any bumpers or rear wings or anything, so maybe he hasn't done that much damage. But yeah, just time loss and frustration. And an incident, as I'm saying, and the fast rallies like this, I've said it before, I'll say it again. A minor incident can lead to just bigger and bigger crashes as you try and gain the time back.
Yeah, chat said Turk should have had that easily for the square root question. Is mid-run here. Kamikaze just adjusting his thing as he comes across the line. That takes a little bit of skill.
Yes, indeed. Well, Kamikaze, a very, very talented driver, and I will say also someone who can multitask quite exceptionally. So I think maybe just I will say I probably think it's damage, to be honest, that has provoked some of those crashes. The car looked like it was lifting the nose quite a bit over the jumps, and so with the amount of commitment and speed that Kamikaze takes into the corners, sometimes all you need is a millimeter of understeer, and that's enough to make you have a huge crash. As we got Punju across the line and Adam Sanderson nearly at the same time there. So we're going to have a grandstand view of the results. 182nd for Adam Sanderson and 188th, I think, for Punju. So that's very, very, very close. With actually Punju with that time penalty added to that time. So actually Punju has driven a blistering stage after that, it looks like.
He has indeed. Fantastic results from the both of them. Arms in the air once again from Adam Sanderson. And I think they're both unmuted in the chat, so talking to each other. But fantastic driving so far from all of our creators. Once again, hands in the air for Adam. He's loving it at the moment.
Yeah, he's always so enthusiastic, and actually Dirk Chocolate has just taken a trip into one of the famous 1,000 lakes, sadly. So we've got our first car that has had a car wash during this rally, and unfortunately a barrel roll straight after into a tree.
Into a tree.
Combo. That is a good combo. Unfortunately, there are no points scored for that in this rally, but hey, maybe that's an idea for the future. 5 points per barrel roll.
We'll implement the gymnastics scoring ability. It's all done on heightened performance and execution, and that would certainly be a 10 for barrel rolls for Dirk Chocolate.
Yeah, the height was a little bit disappointing, so maybe a 2 out of 10 for that one. Yeah, we're going to have to be a bit more critical in our evaluations here to get the point system well sorted. Half spin, 3-pointer for that one. The execution was a little bit poor. The landing and recovery, having to take multiple attempts at it. So maybe not the best in terms of that, but practice makes perfect.
Exactly. Scored down on the landing. Just couldn't quite stick it out. Kamikaze getting himself prepped and ready for what I assume is his penultimate stage. 22 kilometers ahead of himself. So a little bit kind of in the mix of some of our drivers. I think Dirk's on this long stage at the moment. He's hopped ahead of a few of them at the moment. And according to Matt, creators closer to WRC drivers than we realised.
Yes, Rally Finland did not go well for most drivers, including the Toyota drivers. Just want to mention the livery that Kamikaze has is the 2024 livery for Kalle Rovanperä on the car. So the livery that he would use in real life Rally Finland. A very, very cool livery. But unfortunately didn't save him from disaster towards the on the penultimate stage of the rally. Oh dear. Oh no, this is the penultimate stage of the rally for Kamikaze. Okay, the jinx hasn't happened 100%, but it was quite close. Almost close, quite uncanny right there, but we avoided it. Everything's good.
Fantastic. Jam on your screens there with quite a lot of damage to his car, and that is, extensive damage to that Toyota clutch, turbo, radiator, you want to name it. He's probably got damage to it here, Isaac.
Yeah, looking a lot better though than some of the other cars. When you've got, you want to fix the radiator, obviously, no matter what damage you've got. But some of the other components, when they have yellow damage, it's okay to leave them another service. You always, once again, on fast rallies, always want to repair the bodywork with these aerodynamic cars. On some older cars, the bodywork doesn't really make that much of difference, but here it will just lead to even more crashes. And I think some of the drivers not realizing that little fact. It took, I think, quite a few of us a while to figure out that the bodywork repair had such a big impact. But no matter what you do here, he is going to have penalties in terms of repairing the car. So that's always demoralizing when you do all of that effort and then you get slapped with a 9-minute penalty or a 3-minute penalty to add to your misery after the offs. It happens frequently, sadly.
Yeah, exactly that. And of course, the penalties come thick and fast, especially when it comes to damage. I've just seen Gareth, our producer, put in the Twitch chat, 1 sec, I've had an idea. And now I'm slightly scared.
Very scared. That's
oh no.
that is always a very, very frightening line to put in a chat. I've had an idea.
Well, I've just seen my name change on stream. So TK Maximus. He's been enjoying changing the names as we've gone through this rally. We've had quite a few that have fallen victim to the man behind the desk, and apparently I am carrying on. But you can't laugh at other people if you can't laugh at yourself. And Dirk Chocolate all into the forest and into a tree.
That was quite a bizarre one. The car just bounced. It just started bouncing and just continued to bounce all the way off the road. Not much he could do there. He was on the brakes and nothing was happening because, spoiler alert, if your wheels are not on the ground, you don't actually get any braking force. So just a roller coaster ride right off into a tree. And yes, that is the description of Finland. I think that is actually very accurate, come to think of it.
You're telling me they haven't put reverse thrusters on these rally cars yet to prevent what we just saw in Dirk Chocolate's car?
Okay, FIA, write that down.
No, don't. It's going on the list with Bernie Ecclestone's water jet idea for F1 tracks, but nonetheless, we'll continue through the hills of Finland here. Encephalosis on the left-hand side, Jam on your right, and both of them locked in and focused on what this is now the penultimate stage.
It reminds me of, I think it was a cheat code in Colin McRae Rally 1, where you could drive as a UFO or something like that. So, so yeah,
that
it wouldn't be the first time. It was fantastic, yes. A lot of the old rally games having some very, very funky stuff in them, and some stuff to keep you amused, especially when the game was known for a lot of sideways power sliding and all of that. So having a hover car was adding to that effect. Some of our drivers having a little bit too much sliding there, Encephalosis or Andrew, or whichever combinations of names you want to use. They seem to be changing on the broadcast quite a bit lately.
Cephalosis.
Andrew Cephalosis, there we go, we'll go with that one.
Make it even longer.
Indeed. No, definitely not complicated. But looks like he's having a good drive through here. Just missed the junction there previously, but Jam, same thing. He's having a lot of fun. You can see they're smiling. That's what we want to see in Finland. It is one of those rallies that puts a smile on your face once you get it right. But unfortunately, when you get it wrong, there's that tiny moment where you can see on their face, uh-oh, I have miscalculated here. And it looks like he's got some sort of rear wing damage as he's just gone into that corner. Rear entry, reverse entry. Looks very cool if you can make it stick, but unfortunately just spun around there and you couldn't gain some traction on the tyres.
Yeah, unlucky for both of them. Kamikaze's view still baffles me at the moment. He's cutting almost every corner that he possibly can on this penultimate stage, swiping that car left, right and centre, pretty much rarely facing forwards unless he absolutely needs to on this course. Aerotech, who's briefly on the top left, but will continue on. There we go, with Aerotech, who's starting to catch up in his stages. 11 minutes 41. That almost guarantee has to be the penultimate stage. Has he caught up already?
I think he might have. That would be very, very, very impressive if he has, setting some extraordinary stage times. This might actually put him towards the top of the leaderboard. That was stage 10, if I am correct. That was Payala. So he's almost caught up to within one stage, which is very, very impressive, seeing as I think he started 3 or 4 stages late. Just speed running the competition.
Amazing stuff. We got a clip here of the abduction scene with the UFO back in Colin McRae Rally. Or was it Richard Burns Rally? I can't remember what you were saying.
Colin McRae Rally.
Colin McRae Rally.
First one. PS1, my childhood in a nutshell. And if I remember rightly, if you stay here long enough, yeah, you get abducted.
Now trying the following treat, McGray.
And if I remember rightly, it takes you to a UFO. You can use a UFO then on the stages, or it was a different track, one or the other. There were quite a few cheat codes, would you believe, in the older games. And yeah, that one I think specifically was like jelly cars. So the cars would wobble around. Some very cool stuff. A bit like VR basically nowadays.
Exactly. It's I'd love to see the old school secrets back in games like this.
Oh, most definitely. A bit of fun in a game is always good stuff. And I mean, it takes quite a bit to implement, I'm sure, but I'm sure the developers have left some Easter eggs here which we haven't found. They always do, so I'm sure maybe in a few years' time we'll come back to the game, explore the areas which they're currently exploring involuntarily, and we'll find some secrets in there for sure.
Very, very true. I'm sure somewhere there's a house with someone in it, or watching something on one of the log cabin TVs that will be discovered later when people start to explore the stages properly, and not just sending it with minimal regard to their car through the hills of Finland at the moment. But at the moment, setting fairly good times. Gareth in the chat, Major Update 24 needs the induction sequence, otherwise we can walk.
Well, yeah, it's quite a long distance. You don't want to be walking here, that's for sure. And yeah, there's one of those lakes that I previously mentioned. There's Jam nearly taking a trip into it there. And one thing, if they're not seeing on TV some stuff in the background, they're definitely seeing some broken rally cars parking in their yard, unfortunately. So the grass cutting, maybe not the technique which they wanted to use there, but a bit of free grass cutting there.
Exactly, like Valtteri Bottas said back in Austria in Formula One, just cutting some grass here, nothing to be concerned about. Emulating it here in virtual rally cars. While Punju takes off a little bit of the front of his car as he's navigating his way through stage 11 here. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the Finnish pronunciations because I will 100% guaranteed get them wrong.
Roccolati is what I'm going to go with. I'm not the best at pronouncing Finnish names, but not the first time that I've probably heard that stage name. Some very, very close times still in this stage, but you can see via the times now that it's seconds separating the drivers, maybe some damage or just lack of confidence. And for Punju, that's not going to go well because there's a pile of logs there, and he's parked on top of the pile of logs, basically. Yes, it's not logging season there, but he's definitely making a good attempt at it. I mean, for Punju, he had that really great stage, it must be said. He did exactly what he said he would do, get that one wonderful stage, and then he didn't have confidence for the rest of it. And his prediction has actually been quite accurate, sadly, for him, I must say. And it's not going well, although gymnastics scores, we're going to have to do a little bit of an update.
I think we are. That's a fantastic barrel. Once again, landing wasn't quite there. He used the tree as an assist, so I'd say mid sixes or sevens.
Yeah, in terms of the medal tables, though, he's on a gold medal at the moment. Definitely produced the most scoring right now. And he just wants to add a little bit more. That's not really going to be a high score at the moment. But let's see if anybody can top it in the last two stages.
Yeah, still lots of time to take it out, of course. If any... Oh, what's this? Is Adam Sanderson in a tree?
Unfortunately, we didn't. We can't do the scoring on that one. We didn't see it, but that's not what you want to see. And he's got engine damage from it, and indeed, he's crashed so hard that the camera has disabled itself, which is actually something that happens quite often in the rally cars. Would you believe?
I think our producer's gone back to find the crash for us.
It might be indeed. Let's have a look then. Just going through this section here, up on the bank a little bit. It's not looking anything untoward for the moment. Quite consistent drive. Something's going to happen in a minute. This is Finland. It happens within a blink of an eye. It always does. And yeah, it's one of those tricky sections, this one, because you arrive from very flat out sort of fourth, fifth gear corners where you're just on the throttle. And you've got this section where there's quite a few hairpins, quite a few slow corners with logs and banks and rocks on the outside. So you've got to adjust your driving style, adjust the tempo of everything. And you can see some blind crests as well. Panning out here for Punju, and I must say the car is not handling very well for him at all at the moment. Probably some significant damage on there.
Yeah, not liking it at all as we run through, I believe, the penultimate stage of Punju. I'll just double check my timing screens here. Yeah, penultimate stage. And through the trees, once again, navigating them almost perfectly, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he will have just been a little bit tense there, looking at those trees, trying to find a way to avoid them. Definitely taking more avoiding action than what he'd like at the moment. But the main thing right now is to get to the end of the stage. Points are at the end of the rally. Who knows? With so many people making mistakes in this one, Finland has definitely delivered, but also it means that the points table could look very different than what we think it looks like, because some of the drivers, although they've made mistakes, they've kept it on the road.
Yeah, they have indeed. And I believe this is the Adam Sanderson crash on the right-hand side. Here we go. We've got a chance to review it. Welcome to Clip and Corner for the first time in WRC. So we have a chance to review an instant. Let's watch and see where it all went wrong. I tell you what, the smaller tree over bigger tree. I think he was just saving the car there, John.
Yes, I must admit, I will say that's a pace note problem right there. There's some, as Antophilosis has a big crash in the background as well. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Jam as well, doing a double barrel roll. You know what? That takes the gold medal position at the moment. So Punju down to the silver medal position in terms of gymnastics championships. The landing was okay. The continuation, maybe a 5 out of 10 on that one. So a very high score indeed. Just going back to the pace note there. What happens is you've got some very fast corners one after the other, and sometimes the pace note is called for the corner afterwards, which is a right-hander. So I think he's gone right over the jump when it's a left-hander and then straight into the tree. Had to take avoiding action, and spoiler alert, there's multiple trees in Finland.
There are a lot of trees here. We've seen it all through, and Adam Sanderson once again taking creative lines through some of the safety barriers, just making sure that everyone's remaining as safe as possible, checking out the structural integrity of them, and not quite hearing the pace. There's a massive smack to the rear left of that Toyota Yaris, but keeping it straight and narrow, accidentally turning the windscreen wipers on here.
Indeed, yeah, it can happen. Just mashing the buttons. You know, when you're looking for the handbrake or a different combination of buttons, it can happen a lot. But that radiator damage is of concern. I will say for Punju, he's got quite a bit of a problem here because he has stopped to repair a tire, and as you can see, there is currently a tire missing on the car. He does not have a spare tire, I don't think, and that might be it because. Yeah, that stage I think is quite a long one. It's 6 kilometers. He could drive through it. He could drive through that stage, Peltola.
I think he possibly could. I wonder if we can get him in for a chat before he attempts the final split stage here, to see what is going through his mind. Punju, welcome in once again to the commentary box. We see the little sad face you're pulling. Have you got a puncture here for the final stage? Talk us through what's gone on.
I might. I may or may not have gotten a double puncture on the last stage. I first punctured something at one point. I don't even remember which one it was. And it was bad. And I was like, oh no, that's really not good. I think it was like a left rear or something like that. I went ahead and decided to fix it. And then later on, I just flipped out of nowhere and punctured my left front. So, yeah.
Difficult.
There we are.
People have been making a lot of mistakes, and we continue to see mistakes in the background happening as well for some drivers. So these last 3 stages have been absolutely brutal for, I think, everybody. We've seen at least one major mistake from each of our drivers, if I am correct. And Finland doesn't disappoint. But one thing I can say, though, to lift the spirits a little bit, is that stage in the rain at night was exactly what you predicted it to be. I think that is very, very impressive.
I knew I was gonna do well on that stage. Like I came into that one, I was like, okay, this is gonna be my run. I know this is my good one, and obviously, 21st is crazy for me. So I'll hang my hat on that one and say like that was my one good stage of the day, and I'll take at least one. It's better than none. So yeah, it's unfortunate how the rest of it's gone, but you know what? We're giving everything we got, and that's all we can do, right?
So what are your opinion on power stage points? Do you think you can do any power stage points?
If I did, it is the biggest miracle in all of humankind. And I hope I can pull that miracle off, but I do not expect to. I'm going to be honest with you. I think if I get even like a point out of it, it would be shocking. So, you never know. It's a short stage. It's a short power stage. If I recall correctly, it's like, 6 kilometers. It's short. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Not too long to drive with a bad tire. Never know.
Well, fingers crossed for you. We'll let you go and hop on with the power stage. 2 minutes 45 world record, so roughly around 3 minutes for yourself. But best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And indeed, the producer once again doing Punju a little bit dirty in that one with the surname. I had to bite my tongue a little bit through that one. But yeah, very very unfortunate getting a puncture literally for the power stage, which means that presumably he will not. Well, if he does get points from the power stage with 3 tires, I tell you what an amazing drive, but also how badly will the others have to crash in the power stage? So we're going to have to stay tuned for that one, as we've got some drivers, I think, already into the power stage now.
Yeah, we certainly do. Of course, really short stage, 6 kilometers, as you previously mentioned. World record time stood around the 2 minute 45 mark. So probably looking at about 2 minutes 53 minutes for some of our creators. And Adam Sanderson hasn't had the best start already.
No, it's a very difficult start.
Neither is
With
Punju.
the hairpin, yeah, Punju obviously with that puncture. The car with the 4-wheel drive system, the car will just be pulling in every direction apart from the one where you want to go, because that corner of the car is still powered. So the differentials are working. Everything's trying to get the best grip, but realistically, you just want that tire to spin up. And the car won't let you do it with all of the modern differentials. So this is probably going to be a painful stage for Punju, but it's a painful stage for Adam Sanderson as well, who has had multiple offs already into the trees. And I think either maybe a puncture as well. I'm not quite sure. But the car is not handling at all like you'd expect it to.
It's not at all, not how he'd want it to. And Punju hitting a tree in the top left-hand side of the screen once again. Dark Viper not yet wanting to attempt it, but Adam Sanderson and Punju currently trying to get the gold medal spot for the gymnastics event here in our WRC. Aerotech, I'll tell you what, he's had a fantastic run. I think he's about to finish off stage number 11 here. So we'll be joining everyone on the power stage in just a couple of moments' time. Dirk Chocolate, I'm trying to figure out what camera view he's looking in here.
This is I think a replay. He's got a replay playing right now. That camera isn't possible from what I know. In any case, yes, indeed, it's probably a replay playing. Or if he's driving from this angle, credit to him. You know that's pretty. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think for Dirk, he's probably just taken a little bit of a break, or he maybe has even finished the final stage already. I think he was quite ahead of the drivers going into the final stage, so that is possibly the end of his rally already. As Aerotech crossing the line here as well, what times are going to be? This is stage 11, if I'm correct. This is the previous stage for our first drivers here. It goes from bad to worse for Adam Sanderson and Punju. They've been off at the same time into a tree. So it's damage is really hampering them here, and I think they're just trying to get to the end, no matter what. It doesn't matter if they've got half or a quarter of a car. They just want to get to the end.
Yeah, I don't blame him in this regard. 2 drivers that have just finished their completed runs are season 1 and 2 champion Vlembar finishing up 4th overall, and Dirk Chocolate coming in 193rd as they finish all of their stages. On your screens at the moment, as you said, Punju and Adam Sanderson, 2 drivers that I think are wishing this rally would be over as soon as possible.
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, Finland's it's not the easiest start to a season. Obviously, we are doing Finland first of all because it is in link with the real life Rally Finland, which ended yesterday, and was not kind to the rally drivers there. 60% of factory cars retired in that rally. So it was a rally fraught with many rainy stages and difficult stage conditions. Rocks getting drawn out onto the racing line, which is not a frequent problem for Formula 1 tracks and all of that. So yeah, definitely can catch drivers off guard. And cars, would you believe, don't like rocks.
Rather ironic considering we're racing on gravel through these, but I don't know if you've ever seen some of the big crashes that we had in Rally Finland. If not, go check them out online, because we had some absolutely massive crashes. Fortunately, I believe all the drivers are okay. I think you'll be able to correct me on that one. But I'm 90% sure everyone's okay.
In terms, yes, they are technically okay. Some of them still recovering from bruises. Let's put it that way. under a little bit of observation, but nothing serious. Thankfully, the security of cars, the safety standards of these cars now are so, well, I would say brilliant. Unfortunately, I do have to remember Craig Breen, which was unfortunate circumstances, that's for sure. But generally, with the accidents that we've seen with the increase of pace, safety standards have got a lot better. So we can be thankful for that at least.
Yeah, very, very true. On your screens, Punju and Adam Sanderson finishing up their rallies. 181st is Punju, 184th is Adam Sanderson. So close between the two of them. Considering Adam hasn't picked this game up for a while, I reckon we'll be looking at a good contender for some point scoring over our creators' standings.
Indeed, I have absolutely no idea what the table's going to look like, because some drivers have had some really fast stages followed by some problematic ones. So it is looking maybe like Vlembar might take a win in this one, sitting 4th overall. That's quite a performance.
Yeah, I wonder if
but
Kamikaze will be looking to
yeah.
knock that.
I don't think so. With the 40 seconds lost and some more time lost, I think, in the last stage, that damage just getting the better of him. Although it looks like he is attacking once more 110%. I think trying to get a power stage victory in this one to recover some of the points. But yeah, behind Vlembar, it's looking like anybody's game as we see Amphicephalosis just rolling. I think that is across the finish line. So doing a little pirouette across the finish line. Maybe a bronze for that one.
I think that's a fantastic art show.
It's definitely a spectacle, and 90th place, only 22 seconds off on that stage, so that is a good stage time. I'm presuming that little spin happened across the line, so not. Oh,
it was well past. Yeah, he'll be happy just to get to see the marshals at the end of the stage. They're 71st for Amphicephalosis as we cross the completed finish line. So I think he'll be happy with that. He's beaten out both Punju and Adam Sanderson. There's still more to come across the line as Duck Viper once again hangs from the ceiling, and now he's the right way up. Fortunately, car unaffected.
Indeed. Well, unaffected, and I almost thought that the car was going to go over then, just in terms of commentator's curse. But we've got away with it once again. Dark Viper has had a bit of a topsy-turvy rally, a bit like everybody else. Some stages where it's gone very well, and then others where he's just been a little bit in wars with the trees. Would you believe the trees are actually quite sturdy here, sadly, for our drivers? But honestly, with the pace they've been showing, I think every driver's been pushing to the limit, and that's made the difference here in this one. In that every driver wants to have a good first performance, get some points on the board, really sort of drive it home that I am in contention this season. I can make the difference. I can correct previous mistakes. And in a very high-risk venue, for most drivers, it has not paid off.
Yeah, unfortunately, Finland has bitten back and bitten hard for a lot of our drivers here this afternoon. We see Aerotech, who had those technical issues at the start, managing to catch up with the majority of our drivers. He's about 3/4 of the final stage behind, which in itself is showing some incredible pace. But I reckon it's about time we pull in a few drivers for the final chats, don't you say, Isaac?
Indeed, I think it is time. Let's have a go.
Well, I'll let Gareth pick a driver at random. So Gareth, pick a driver, any driver, and we will go forward. Adam Sanderson is the first one to be chosen. Adam, welcome in to round off the rally. Just losing out to Punju by about 3 positions in the end, but overall, a good rally from yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot stronger at the end there. I figured out how to drive it, literally on the latter half of those stages. I think next week I'll come back. I might actually do a bit of practice. I came into this completely blind. I just literally, something just clicked all of a sudden, and I was figuring out how to twist the car even with damage. And yeah, I reckon next week I'll give it more of a prepared time and then see what I can do. I reckon I could get in the top 25% if I genuinely tried.
I think that's definitely potential.
Yeah, I was going to say for a non-practiced drive at Finland, that is quite impressive and definitely potential, as TK has said. You've had some very fast stages. You can't deny that, at least.
Yeah,
okay.
no, honestly, yeah. Just telegraph poles and trees got in the way.
They're pesky. They do move out in front of you. Yes, it
They
is
do. They
very
keep
common
moving.
knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
it's adaptable broadband, quite literally. But yeah, in terms of results, I think like every driver here, Finland does not take prisoners, and although you've made mistakes, would you believe it? Other drivers have made bigger mistakes than you have, so you
Does
could
it?
actually be on for some good points here.
I'll take it. I mean, I know I beat Dirk, and I don't know where everyone else stands, to be honest, because their names in game and on Discord are different, so I don't know who I'm really looking for. Other than Eli, Kamikaze, I don't know what the other ones like equivalent EA names are. So yeah, I'm hoping I get some good points. I wasn't actually on the scoreboard for last season. I was overlooked. So I don't know where I placed, but we'll see where we can end up this time around. I'll do a bit of practice and try and fight for more of the front positions. Because that was a lot of fun. When you, sorry to ramble on a little bit, when you hook up a sector so nicely around here, it is so satisfying. So satisfying. So I really want to make sure I can feel that satisfaction a few more times.
Amazing stuff. Well, pleasure as always, Adam. Rally Kenya next week, so slightly different approach. We're swapping out gravel and dust for sand and dust in terms of the rally cars. So, any thoughts? Early thoughts going into that?
Well, like I said, I've not actually. Did I race Kenya last time around? I don't think I did. Are there trees or cliffs?
There's no trees, but there's a lot of rocks. Well, there's some trees, yes.
Okay. Okay, I mean, if there's only some rather than an abundance, which there are around here, that'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Please, someone clip this. I will bring this back up in an interview. A little word of wisdom: you might want to practice for Kenya.
Okay.
You will figure out what I mean when you take the first stage of your choosing in practice.
Okay, interesting. I'll give it a go. I also kind of want to get on screen like my throttle and brake inputs, because I was saying to my stream, like, I'm tapping them both so often, and it'd be really cool just to see the traces. I'd love to see what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll give it a go. Give it a practice, and I'll let you know how I fare in that.
Nice. According to sorry.
No, please carry on, TK.
According to our sources, there's quite a few acacia trees at Rally Kenya.
Okay, I love an acacia tree. They look pretty.
They do.
Let's see if they're made of sturdy stuff as my bumper embeds into its roots.
Yeah, you like them now, you won't like them next week.
Right, okay. I look forward to it. Cheers, guys.
Amazing stuff, Adam. Thanks for hopping in for an interview, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. But as he drops out early,
he's dropped.
Gareth sent him off a little bit early. Again, well, let's spin that wheel. We'll let Gareth pull in another. I'm going to make you pick random ones all evening. Eritech, welcome in. Of course, the most recent finisher out of all of our runners. You were playing catch up pretty much that entire rally, and so far you were about 2 minutes off the pace in the end, which is an incredible comeback.
Yeah, especially too. I like to jump on a bit early. I'm like the person who studied for your exams or your tests like the night before, the day of. I don't like practicing like days and days in advance. So I was like, oh, I'll jump on and grab a couple stages. Couldn't do that because I had my technical issues. So I'm in Rally 1 car, which I've driven maybe for 5 minutes and went, wow, that's scary, and then never touched it again. In Finland, obviously it's a super popular in the game, but I'm like, if everyone wants to do this, I want to do other things because I'm weird. So like, I had no idea where I was going. The car setup, I didn't have time to do any setup stuff, so it was really, really understeery. I don't know how the hybrid works, so I'd get on the power, and all of a sudden my front end would just be like, you're gonna go over here now. So to even be, I'm tentatively third right now out of the creators. So even be in the ballpark, I'm stunned. So, yeah, I would love to be able to play at the same pace as everybody else. That'd be great for once. But it turned out to not be too bad, especially towards the end there.
I think the other drivers would prefer to be at your pace at the moment, sitting P3 overall. That's a pretty good result, don't you think?
Yeah.
A lot of drivers have had problems, so yeah, it's all relative.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we weren't, I think we really cleaned it up towards the back half of the event, but even going into the first stage, I'm like, just like last time, you are not going to beat these drivers trying to outdrive them. So like turn it down a little bit and just keep all four on the stage and minimize mistakes. There still was a couple here and there. It seemed like with these cars, whenever, at least at this location, whenever you get a 4, sometimes it would be a lot tighter than it seems like it would be, and sometimes it wouldn't be. So sometimes I get confident in trying to push it, and then I'm off in a lake somewhere, and then sometimes I'd be way too slow. And just chatting with them very briefly, apparently we all had pretty similar issues. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to not take breaks and not have practice and outdrive these fine gentlemen. But so I did what I could, and yeah, really good start to the season, I guess, if we can hold on to where we are right now.
Yeah, fantastic start to the season for yourself. Of course, hopefully, barring any technical issues going forward as well, that extra
Don't
practice.
put that evil in the world. Everything is fine. Everything will work fine now. I will make sure of it. Good Lord.
It's fine. Commentators' curses don't curse technology anyway.
Not yet.
It's never happened once. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, apart
Allow
from
me to
Dirk
change
Junkrat.
It's fine. He deserves it. He's a beautiful man. He can handle some turmoil.
Amazing stuff, Aero. Pleasure to watch you race race again this week, and I'm looking forward to see you again out in Kenya, bud.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure as always, dude. Next up, and these are all Gareth decided interviews. Sorry, Isaac.
I just want to have a little note here. Just before I speak. Well, we'll speak with Jam first, and then I'll do the note afterwards. Jam, a somewhat tricky rally for you, especially toward the end.
Oh yeah.
But there's obviously positives to take from this rally. Some good stage times, and obviously driving at Finland is always great.
Of course, yes. Finland's always a fun time. I love this. I love this place. My biggest problem is always over driving myself, like braking too late on certain things, and that's really been an ongoing issue for me from the get go. So, but yeah, it was great. I didn't run out of tires, and I finished I finished everything. I don't think I mentioned this in this. I was talking about it on the other VC, but a screw fell off of my sequential shifter partway in stage 4.
No.
Oh dear.
It's all wobbly now, but I was able to finish the race, the stages anyways. But I have to dismantle it and rebuild it tonight, I suppose.
Well,
it was fun.
Your stats in engineering then for this season. That's a good choice, to be honest. Being mechanically reliable is good.
Yeah, I mean it still works. I think partway through stage 4, I felt something fall onto my knee, and I'm like, "What is that?" I look down, it's a screw. I'm like, I know exactly where that's from. Yeah.
Terrifying experience for anybody that's owned any sim racing gear. Just a random screw on the ground is never a good sign.
No,
Something you want to see. Especially when you're trying to drive a car at Finland flat out. But I think there is some good stuff that you can take from the rally, though, is that everybody else tried to take it cautious and crashed. You just decided to go for it. You had a few moments for sure.
I did, yeah.
I think that was part of your plan, is to just try and take the maximum out of it, and in all honesty, it worked out for you compared to the others as well.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my main plan today was, again, survive and just make it to the end. But at the same time, like, I also wanted to test myself to see how far I can take myself from going, like, how fast I can go and whatnot. There were bits, and I'm sure I actually have the stream, your guys' stream, on my phone on the side. And each time the stream pans to me, it's me making a mistake and hitting someone else or some shit. It's the timing is wild. Kudos to that.
That's generally how it goes.
That's generally how. Yeah, but there will be some moments where my brain would skip a pace note. I would hear it, but it won't happen. I won't like process it, and then I would process the next one, and then I end up in someone's backyard or, yeah. But other than that, like it's great. I think for me the hard part is also having to figure out when to start my stages. I have to look at the time all the time, but other than that, it's been great.
It's a high pressure environment, always doing something to a time schedule. It affects the results. It affects your confidence going into stages because you're no longer allowed that sort of 2-minute break of like calm, relax, get the mindset going. You just have to go for it. And it can be derailing, let's call it that way. But
of course, yeah,
I think it was
100% a great learning experience, though. I learned quite a bit, and listening to the other folks in the chats in the VC and how they're handling things is also something that I can take upon. So that's awesome.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, it's always a learning curve, especially not only for the drivers, for us here as well, as we learn each stage and go through. But it's fantastic to see yourselves turning up week in, week out, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you again in the next few weeks as well, Jam.
Of course, yeah, that'll be awesome. Thank you.
Awesome stuff.
Thank you for
Well,
having me.
it's been a pleasure to see you, Rally, and catching you up. And yeah, see you again very soon, bud.
All right.
And last but not least, I think it's right to round out the session with Punju himself. Punju, welcome in. I felt like we interrupted a conversation there. There was a hand to the camera almost.
We were talking about using default setups versus actual setups, and yeah, Arrow said he was using a default that whole time, so he beat me on a default. So yay.
Yeah, not the rally that has panned out possibly the most in terms of points for you. Not the best start to regaining that title that you want, I'm sure. But there is some good news. The pace is there.
It's there. It can be done. The fact that I got that 20th place, I was like, okay, I can go quick. I can perform. It's just, do I? So if I was to put in more practice, obviously, I think I probably could have done pretty dang well, actually. And it's quite encouraging to see, like, okay, yeah, it can go well. I just got to put the work in, you know?
Well, I think also the Rally 1 cars are difficult to maneuver and difficult to handle for certain people. It comes down to driving, just your driving style, not necessarily even anything to do with skill, really. Some people just prefer four-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive. So maybe this is just your one bad result of the season. The rest of it, you're going to win them all. Who knows?
I hope you're right about that. That would be grand. Do I expect it to happen? No, but would I like that? Yes, that would be amazing. But yeah, it's been tough, but never know. Never know what we can do for the rest of the season.
Exactly that. And of course, next week we fly to Rally Kenya. Our victors round, aka made up by Vlembar, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Talk us through what we have in store for the next week.
Yeah, next week is wild. It's Group A at Kenya. Previously, we've just basically said, like, hey, Vlembar, tell us what car track combo you want, and I'll go and like design it. He's like, no, I got this. Let me cook. And so he put up like a full stage list for everything, and it is good. Like, it's really good. So I'm stoked for it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I believe it's full dry next week as well. But there might be a little bit of rain at some point. I can't remember though. But I think it's full dry. Yeah, it's a full dry run.
Yeah.
10 stages. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Bumpy and wild.
Yeah,
Certainly
completely
looking that
different
way.
change of pace.
Yeah,
Completely.
very.
You go to Finland from Finland to Kenya. You couldn't get more different if you tried.
Yep, basically it's gonna be pretty intense. Honestly, as much as I'm excited for next week, I'm really excited for the week after that. That's our storm round, and I cannot wait for that. We could do wild weather. I always do one wild weather round, and that one is wild weather. So, just gonna foreshadow that one. It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be a crazy couple of weeks. You go to Monte Carlo, so you go to Pacifico with wild weather, so stormy, rainy, and then we go to Monte Carlo with ice and snow and everything in between. So it's going to be a lovely couple of weeks for some of our drivers, not to name any names, B-Roy.
Yeah, right.
But no, it's I think it'll be a good set of rallies. We've certainly got some interesting ones coming up. Of course, Rally Sweden later down the road to finish off the season as well.
Absolutely. We always have to have a snow rally in. I mean, obviously, there's only two to pick from for now, but we have to have a snow rally every single season, right? So, yeah, we got Rally Sweden in there. I will mention Rally Monte Carlo is actually the fan vote, so the fans wanted that, which is crazy. But you know what? Good on them. They wanted it. They get it.
Series fans sending drivers to Monaco. That almost never happens.
Ever. You know, now that you say that, that totally makes sense, actually. I can't believe I didn't even connect the dots right there. It's funny how it works. Some things never change.
Amazing stuff, Punji. Well, thank you for coming and chatting to us once again. Fantastic job this afternoon. It's only uphill from here, as they say.
Absolutely. On the uphill.
Exactly. Look forward to seeing you again soon, bud.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
See you soon. And we've got Aerotech taking some photos there. But John, what a fantastic rally we've had.
Indeed, it has been fantastic. I just want to close up on some information that we did not see, and there was something amiss. There was a little thing that didn't add up in my head. Is where is Mr. Kamikaze on the leaderboard? In stage 10, I think Mr. Kamikaze DNF'd, sadly. So that means that overall he is way, way down the order, 7 minutes off the pace, which is not the start that he wanted versus Vlembar and versus a lot of our other creators. So just getting a little bit unlucky, maybe just getting offline, hitting a tree and getting a double puncture or something, but not the start that he wanted, that's for sure. I think there's one way to summarize this rally, and it's called Rally Finland. Full stop. That's all you need to say. This rally had it all, a bit like in real life. There were absolutely flat out possibilities, but those possibilities can translate into danger, and accidents were aplenty. The gymnastic scores will be very difficult to go over. We're going to have to watch every replay there to get the final points on the board. But yes, indeed. For some of our drivers, they'll want a much better outing in Kenya. That's not going to be easy either.
Not at all, of course. Lots still to go on, and Adam Sanson, you saw just a couple of moments ago, getting his setup and his car all designed ready for next week. And there we go, back on our screen, the beautiful purple and gold liveries resembling Connor Sports. Of course, if you've played any of the F1. Last year's F1 game, of course, the Breaking Point series, where he was a voice actor for one of the characters. I'll let you guess which one. He was the face as well, and the voice actor. Was he not the voice actor? He was only the face. That was Gareth, our producer in my ear, just going through. But yeah, just get himself set up and ready for next time out in Kenya. But yeah, Isa, if they want to check you out a little bit more after this broadcast and the fantastic work and driving you do in Rally, where can they do so?
Well, as a matter of fact, I will be live in just a bit doing my run of this, and from what I've seen, I'm in for a bit of a painful experience, I think, with a few trees. So everything is amusing for all of the social medias and things. Usually you can find a variation of somewhat dubious driving and a lot of crashes as well. A bit like you've seen tonight, basically. It's a funny thing with content creators. They tend to copy each other sometimes, and I need to get rid of the crashing copying, but we'll figure that out at a later date.
Yeah, that comes later down the line. Of course, if you want to check out any of the Creator Series social medias, it is all above our heads. We've got YouTube, Instagram, X or Twitter, and TikTok as well. Mr. Gareth Allen has been behind the scenes on production this afternoon. You can check him out at Gareth Allen TV. I think it's always right to give him a shout out too. And as for myself, They Call Me TK on pretty much everything as well. Do be sure to tune in Friday night for F2, Saturday afternoon for Formula 1, and of course back here on a Monday evening for more WRC action as our drivers fly from Europe to Africa to enjoy Rally Kenya. But for now, from all of us here in the commentary box, it is good night and God bless.